Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Welcome to your pre-Friday Hoop Spaces. We are grateful that you can spend time here. Not gonna lie, it's kind of weird today. Twitter's been bugging out all morning. Hopefully, it doesn't affect the show. We got some summer league to talk about. We have the WNBA. They had a game last night to talk about, and we're also here to talk about: are the Knicks going to Knick? That's right. Donovan Mitchell now openly on the market, being shopped by the Utah Jazz. The New York Knicks are heavily favored to get Spider, and we'll talk about whether or not that's an actual good idea. Welcome. Good morning. We'll get started in about a minute. Thank you for coming, and have a great day. All right. All right. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Happy pre-Friday. Happy Thursday. I see Bukhari's already ready to come up. I think he just comes in and puts his hands up like immediately. Welcome, everybody. If you see up top, there are already 3 tweets placed up there. The show card. Can you like and retweet that? And a couple of polls. The first poll: does trading for Donovan Mitchell make the Knicks a playoff team? The second one, we started yesterday. Well, I should say I started it last night because there was a group chat debate that a couple of reporters were going back and forth about one-on-one between Steph Curry and Kevin Durant. So I said, okay, look, here's a poll. So I want to know your thoughts on 1st to 11, one-on-one. Who wins, Steph Curry or Kevin Durant? Nearly 1,000 people have already responded. And Curry has a slight lead, 53% to 47. If you want to come on up, please raise your hands. Just like and retweet the show card. Let people know that we're here, and we'll get started momentarily. Got some news and notes that we want to get to in regards to scores and regular comeuppings of the NBA. And we'll start with the scores first. We'll start with the WNBA. There was one game last night. The Connecticut Sun beat the Indiana Fever in Indianapolis 89-81. An actual close game. It's blacked out, so I was not able to watch it. I actually found it on the AM radio, though, so I listened to it. And I just have to say, shout out to the Connecticut Sun and to the Fever. I do not know why you are only playing Destiny Henderson 5 minutes. And I don't know. And if you're looking at the Connecticut Sun, they are by and far the third best team in the WNBA, and it looks like they're getting ready to go on a good run as they're playing a lot of the teams with below 500 records coming up. Also in the news, Brittany Griner is back in court, which is expected after pleading guilty. There's some other, formalities that they have to go through in the Russian legal process, so they'll have an update probably by the end of the day, if not tomorrow. There is a couple of people from America that have ties to the government that are planning on traveling to Russia. Former Governor Bill Richardson, somebody who's actually done this before, is flying over there to begin negotiations on a potential swap. So there's good news with that. In the NBA, we had Summer League last night, had a full slate of games. The Bucks beat the Timberwolves 87-75. The Hornets beat the Cavs 91-80. Ochai Agbaji and Bryce McGowan's both had great nights last night. The Wizards lose to the Pelicans. The Pelicans are just they're looking real scary. 106-88. The Raptors beat the Jazz 80-74. The Thunder beat the Kings 86-80. Keegan Murray, another fantastic game, 29.7 boards. The Heat fall to the 76ers 75-71. And the Nuggets beat the Clippers 80-75. That's your scores from Summer League. Most of the players are going to start being pulled back. So Paolo's already been shut down. A couple other rookies have been shut down. I'm expecting more news that the likes of Keegan Murray, Chet Holmgren might not likely play that fourth game. All right, we have Jay, Knicky, and Bukhari ready to come up. I see people down below that I want to give some shout outs to and say thank you for making this part of your everyday. So to Kent, we appreciate it. Saint from Next Kingdom, CJ, the unathletic CT Pittman, Santa Rosa, Nate, appreciate it. All right, let's get started. We'll bring up Jay, Knicky, and Bukhari, and we're going to go ahead and start right off the top. Are the Knicks about to nick? We understand they had a Jalen Brunson signing that ended up turning not into a signing because maybe now it has to be a sign and trade because somebody somewhere had Butterfingers on their keyboard and typed in the wrong salary. And now they are being tied to a disgruntled star in Donovan Mitchell, who has been trying to get his way to New York apparently since the beginning of the offseason. My question to Knicks fans. You got Jalen Brunson. That was your guy. Now, all of a sudden, you have a chance to get Donovan Mitchell, and he's going to be your guy. And then RJ Barrett, he's your guy. That's too many guys. What are y'all doing? Why does it seem like the Knicks are nicking? Jay, Knicky, what's up?
Good morning, everybody. Chris, my brother. I don't like the phraseology, man. Are the Knicks about to nick? Come on now. Come on. It's too early. Shams dropped a bomb at 11 p.m. last night. Knicks fans were up to like 4 in the morning talking about this stuff. What do you mean are we about to nick? Like, why can't it just be a good decision that the Knicks are trying to just since when is adding talent a bad thing? When has that ever been a bad thing? Yeah, we got to work out some issues about, who's the it guy, even though we all know to be Donovan Mitchell. And then you got to wonder, what do you do with Julius Randle? Because he threw a temper tantrum last year when he noticed he wasn't the focal part in the offense. But can the Knicks, for once, just enjoy their champagne problems? Can we just do that? If this actually, I don't even want to say can we do that because it still has to be done, right? Donovan Mitchell been over here at Rangers games. He's been at Mets games, hanging out with Emmanuel Quickly. They're attached at the hip. A lot of signs are pointing to the fact that he wants to be here. Brian Windhorst saying it's almost a done deal, like it's inevitable. Those are the words he used. But like for once, there's a star that wants to come to us. It's not just us putting out fake news and and just Knicks fans just saying, oh yeah, we're gonna get LeBron and we're gonna get Jordan from '96 and we're gonna do all this. Like no, like for once, there's a player who wants us, right? And still on Twitter, we're getting clowned. The Knicks are gonna nick. No, the Knicks are trying to be good. The Knicks are trying to get to a point where they can actually compete realistically for a long time, right? I personally, at first, I was not of the get Donovan Mitchell camp because I thought it would cost too much. And it probably will in terms of draft picks. But when I see I don't have to give up RJ Barrett for Donovan Mitchell, I cannot be mad at that. There's no way, shape, or form I can sit here and say that's a bad deal. Because you know what? At the end of the day, it makes my team better. Yes, we don't know who will be the driving force of the offense. Yes, we have 2-6-1 backcourt duo. Yes, defense might be shaky, but you cannot deny the fact Donovan Mitchell makes your team better. Period. You can throw me stats, you can throw me anything. Donovan Mitchell isn't, and I see 808s laughing. He loves to take shots at the Knicks. I know it's gonna come. But if this was any other team, it'd be seen as a genius move. But when it's the Knicks, it gets considered a laughing stock of a move or a poverty franchise move. But you know what? We'll be laughing when we get Donovan Mitchell, and then everybody's talking about how we're the team in New York all over again. But the truth is, we never left. Thank you very much, Chris.
There you go. I understand the conundrum here. I remember when we landed our first quote star outside of the process, and his name was Tobias Harris. So, like, I mean, you're not the only franchise that has gone through this, right? Like, I mean, my God, the moment that Boston signed Gordon Hayward, like, Boston was back, baby. That's what they were saying. I get it. My question to you is a fit. How does this fit? That I think that's where the Knicks about to Nick is like they're going in for Donovan Mitchell, but like they already got Donovan Mitchell, and that's in Jalen Brunson. If you look at his playoff contributions last year to the Dallas Mavericks, we will go next to Bukhari because I brought up the Boston Celtics because he's a Celtics fan and he is reveling in this Nickdom today. Bukhari, good morning.
Nah, I don't. Listen, the Gordon Hayward, that was perfect. It was smart. And we went for Gordon Hayward, you know what I'm saying? And then, like, it's not his fault he got injured in 5 minutes of play. Like, it's not our fault. That's just, it happens. And
not referring to that. I'm just saying, like, when you signed him, everybody was like, we're back.
They were. Well, they're like easily the best team in the East, and then like probably like competing with the Warriors. But, man, Kyrie and then like, but then it didn't work out. All right, but we were better than that. We're a better team now than back then. So that doesn't matter no more. All right, that's the past. It does not matter. What I'm trying to say about is the Knicks and the Celtics should not be compared at all. All right, you cannot really compare that. That just irks me. You feel me? I don't know.
I really don't, because if you look at what Boston did is they drafted a whole bunch of young guys, and if you look at what New York did, they drafted a whole bunch of young guys, and when they had enough of these young guys, Boston went out and got non-young guys. So like New York's turn to go out and get non-young guys to do what? To team up with the young guys. How is this different?
I mean, but see, there's difference between the skill level of these young guys. You feel me? I don't know if you're comparing RJ Barrett to Jason Tatum. You feel me? Or Jaylen Brown to Emmanuel Quickly. You feel me? I don't know.
Yeah, I
don't know, man.
I'm not trying to feel you so much, but you keep saying "feel me," and I'm just like, "Yo, pause."
It's a tri-state thing. It's a East Coast state thing.
I'm just saying, like, he done said "feel me" 5 times.
It's in the
I'm gonna
dialect.
let 808s go. I'm gonna let 808s go.
But Kari, don't change who you are. You feel me?
808s, good morning, man. How you living in the world of MFFL?
Well, apparently the JF cake, it's moles now, which I hope that doesn't catch on, because if it does, I would owe somebody some money.
But in the baths, right?
God, that's worse, honestly. Yeah, that's worse. But I was laughing, Jay Knicky, not because like I think it's a clown trade. Like the Bulls a couple of years ago, you really just got to stockpile talent as much as you can. But like one of the trade scenarios that came up during the trade deadline, at least for Chicago, was Jeremy Grant, thinking that was gonna move the needle a little bit. Now theoretically it would have, but the fit is something that I was questioning the entire time. Like, you got a ball dominant guy that needs the ball. He's not really a rim protector. Isn't really good on defense, but he's a really good scorer, good team player. But the fit was something that questioned. Like Chris said, I mean, love JB, but he's pretty much a lesser Donovan Mitchell. So I mean, as far as fit wise, I don't see it, man. Like, that's 3 ball dominant guards, and you got Julius Randle, who might as well be a ball dominant guard. Like, I mean, if we're assuming that he's going to be moved, is that the intention?
Well, we don't. We actually have no idea.
I mean, I feel like
that's the problem.
Well, I mean, if you take out Julius Randle,
the next move being that you can't really have. First of all, I just that fit I don't really like. I'd really rather Obi Toppin get slotted into the starting lineup, and then you bring an off-ball, low usage, effective player into the starting lineup, and then you maybe work out a deal with Charlotte, since they're having some type of flux with Miles Bridges, and they're gonna need extra firepower at the forward position. That would be the way I look at it. And I think now you're in a position where the fit kind of becomes more clear. And I think with JB, yeah, he wanted to get Luka out of Luka's shadow, but I think it was more so to be a lead guard than actually just a number one option. So I think his idea of like he could slide into more of a 2B, 2A type of role, and now you really kind of have your one in Donovan, and then RJ and Jalen split that usage right there.
All right. If you look up top, the question that I have also to go along with this conversation is, what do y'all think of a starting backcourt of Jalen Brunson and Donovan Mitchell? That's something we're going to. 808s, keep going.
Yeah, another question I have for Jay Knicky was like the shooting. So like last year, I think Mitchell had like 35% or like 10 attempts or something like that, somewhere near that. I think Jalen Brunson was like 37, like 3.5. Now, I mean, that's not really great shooting. How do you feel about that though? Like, how do you balance that out?
Yeah, I think if the Donovan move gets made, you have to go and make other moves because our bench is going to get a little gutted. I'm guessing Fournier would be moved in this deal. Shams reported Quentin Grimes is also the focal point of interest there. So another thing, now we definitely need shooters. So I think you go out, you kind of get some MLE guys that are going to shoot the ball pretty well. I don't know who that is off the top of my head, but I truly do think a lot of people don't take into accountability RJ Barrett's shooting potential, especially off the catch and shoot, where he's been pretty effective since his second year in his career. And also, you would know JB at catch and shoot is actually pretty underrated. I think he shot 38% on catch and shoot threes, and especially from the corner. So I don't think it's as bad as it seems. And especially if you slide in Obi Toppin towards the end of the season, he shot closer to 39% from three. So it's not as bad as it looks. Trust me, last year we kind of overvalued the 3-point shot in our offseason signings, and that's why our defense took a major hit. And I feel like that's the true reason why we're as bad as long as Julius Randle imploding.
Hey, bro, I got one more question. So how do you feel about the whole JB thing? Like, I'm pretty sure they didn't share the thought of, hey, we're probably going to go get Donovan Mitchell. So he came in thinking he's going to be the guy. How does that, work out throughout the season? Because, I mean, like I said, he's a great talent, but it's clear despite us a, superior player.
In my honest opinion, I was one of those people when the entire front office was at game one. I was one of the people who said they're there for both of them. That was my estimate of it because this Donovan Mitchell thing isn't new. You know what I'm saying? It hasn't just been lingering around for the last few weeks. Like, this has been months on end of Donovan Mitchell kind of being linked to the Knicks. And I feel like with the ties with, and this is where it kind of just gets murky because there are family ties there with Leon and Brunson and all that stuff. So I believe a conversation was had once upon a time, like, hey, if Donovan becomes available, and especially with the CAA ties as well, that's another thing that you have to kind of take in part of this. It's the agency ties. I feel like a conversation was had, like, hey, there may be a point in time after we get you that we go after Donovan Mitchell. How do you feel about that? And I think a conversation was had. I think Brunson, he's a good guy. He's a worker, and I think he's very professional about it all. So I think ultimately he's not going to care about Donovan Mitchell coming in and quote unquote stealing his shine, because it's not like Luka, where Luka needs the ball to be he is the focal point of the offense every single play coming down. And yes, Donovan Mitchell would be that same thing, but I won't think it's to the same degree as what Luka was, being so high usage. What was Luka's usage? Around 40, close to 40%? I don't think Donovan would be in that stratosphere. So,
I mean, to be fair to Luka, I mean, JB didn't really come on and help out with that. He lowered that usage rate to like halfway throughout the season.
Absolutely. I don't discredit that to JB. I think that was more so after the
coaching fit.
It wasn't until Tim Hardaway got hurt until you really saw JB kind of step up, and that's when everybody's like, oh shoot, like JB's actually the guy. And then Luka's injury kind of, even before the playoffs, Luka's injury kind of highlighted JB, like, okay, we definitely need to feature him in the offense way more.
Which is why, like, with the my bad, go ahead.
I'm looking at the current list of free agents. Your best shooters available: Wayne Ellington,
I knew it,
Ben Galloway, Ben McLemore.
I'll take Ben.
Listen, Jay, bro, I got Kobe White in a second. Let me get Obi.
Are you on drugs?
38-year-old Carmelo.
Greatest kind.
Carmelo's coming back if we get Donovan. Just putting that out there.
37-year-old Trevor Ariza. Oh wow, this is that's it.
Damn,
Kent Bazemore.
that's pretty depressing. I don't want Kent Bazemore anywhere near the Garden. We'll bring back the future draft pick Trevor Ariza and Melo just for 3-point shooting. But yeah, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of moves. If we land Donovan, there are a lot of moves that need to be made, and the board needs to be shuffled up a bit. But like I said, champagne problems, man. I'm not going to be concerned about that.
Let me get the CJ's voice in here. CJ of the Unathletic Pod drops every Friday. What do you got here? Are the Knicks about to nick? What do you think of the backcourt of Jalen Brunson, Donovan Mitchell? And if Utah says you got to give up RJ, are you going to do it? CJ, go ahead.
So the first thing I want to say is, as far as the whole thing about the Knicks going to nick, I don't know why, but this kind of reminds me of when the Knicks went and got Amari Stoudemire, and then they went and got Melo, or it might have been in reverse order. But when they put both of them on the same team, for me, it never made sense because both guys need the ball in their hands. So, like, it felt like a bad fit from Jump Street. And I feel like it's the same thing right now. Not so much that Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson are a bad fit, but more so that I think it's not worth it if it means losing RJ Barrett potentially. And then at the same time, I feel like if you're gonna put Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Brunson, and Barrett together, I'm not sure if that's such a great fit either. And then to me, if you're Utah, if you're going to give Donovan Mitchell to the Knicks, you're selling him off for pennies on the dollar because the Knicks don't have much to offer. So I feel like, if anything, Utah loses out in this deal if you're going to take whatever New York has to offer, because there's other teams that can give you much better offers that give you just better long-term kind of flexibility, I guess you could say. But like I mean, if Donovan really wants to be in New York that badly, he can go to the Knicks. It's not the worst thing in the world, but like, I'm of the mindset that it's not really gonna make much sense as far as fit. But that's just me though.
See, I just want to say something, CJ. The Knicks have the best trade offer over any team in the league. We have 11 draft picks in the next 7 years. There's literally not another team that can put together a package that can compete with the Knicks, and that is what Danny Ainge is upset about.
Well, that is not true.
That's absolutely not true.
The Oklahoma Thunder.
Okay, but we're talking about a team that
we're talking about actual basketball teams.
We're talking about a team that will realistically send a trade package. OKC is not in the trade.
San Antonio as well.
San Antonio doesn't have more picks than
the San Antonio would be able to give them 2 players, 23 years or younger, and 4 draft picks.
And
what about teams that actually want
we can do that too. We have multiple players that are 23 years and younger, and we, like I said, we have multiple
draft that are better than the 2 players that the Spurs have is RJ Barrett.
Okay, but like I said, Utah's not trying to get better. Like, they're trying to tank their butt off. Like, they don't care. Like, somebody keeps mentioning, if you go and look at the Rudy Gobert trade, the players, with the exception of Jared Vanderbilt, they're not players that you're like, yup, I'm trying to build something here. I'm
just keeping it as objective in terms of when someone says nobody can beat a deal X. That's all I'm trying to do, to make sure that everybody understands that there are actually teams that can do it. They're just not interested in doing it. It's a distinction that I try to highlight, because when you watch like ESPN, they don't do that. So it creates a narrative saying, oh, well, no, that's it. Nobody else, right?
Yeah.
It's just not necessarily true. And I want to make sure that everybody hears that, like, there are teams out there that can make an offer that's better, and there's a team out there that can match the offer, and that's the Miami Heat. Not in terms of draft picks, but again, unless New York adds RJ Barrett, Miami has a trump card because they can add Tyler Hero, someone Danny Ainge has actually always been infatuated with. Just throwing that out there. Go ahead, CJ, to let Jay respond.
I feel like this do with you being a Sixers fan. I don't know. That's what I feel.
I mean, but there's also the fact that there could be a 3-team deal, though. It doesn't have to be one team only involved in the deal. Like, they can involve a third team and get, like, somebody else can do that if they really want Donovan Mitchell, is what I'm saying. Like, I don't think the Knicks do have the best offer. I think that there are plenty of other teams who could offer better. Charlotte possibly could offer better. Like Chris said, the Miami Heat can. Like, there's other teams who can offer more talent, maybe not the picks, but they can offer better young talent than the Knicks can to further them as far as tanking and everything else. Now, if Danny Ainge's goal is to just get a bunch of picks, then yeah, like Chris said, OKC could easily give them that. And that's not hard. And they can give them guys that they don't necessarily have to give up that they may want to keep. Like, OKC has a bevy of young talent that is intriguing enough that I think Utah would sit there and say, we'll take that and the bevy of picks you have and give you Donovan Mitchell. Like, I don't think that's the
Well,
craziest thing in the world.
I'm just providing a different avenue to allow people to say, okay, if it's not New York, because it's nothing but New York, what else could it be? And if I'm Oklahoma City and I'm looking at the bevy of picks that I have, and I'm looking at the fact that I could probably move Lugens Dortz and another contract plus picks to trump what New York's got going on. A Donovan Mitchell, Shea Gilgeous, Josh Giddey trio is really intriguing. Jay, I want you to pop in here, and then I want to get into Mo. Appreciate it, CJ. Jay, go ahead and respond.
Yeah, like, to be honest, I just don't think Shams, like, has said it himself. Like, there are multiple teams that are interested, but the Knicks have the primary focus. I don't see a team that's looking to also tank, sacrificing picks in the process just to land Donovan Mitchell, a la the Spurs or OKC. Even though OKC is kind of in this weird stage right now where they might not necessarily need to tank anymore because they kind of have their foundation. But at the same time, I think they like what they've built, and they're really going to try to make it work with Shea. And if it doesn't work with Shea, that'll be the last move to be made in the final steps of tanking. But I don't see a team that's trying to contend or end their rebuild process like the Knicks are. I don't see a team like Miami because it's Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson, and Tyler Hero's value kind of got shot when the exec report came out saying that most execs actually rank RJ Barrett higher than Tyler Hero. So that happened. And then I don't really know any other team that would be interested. Charlotte, what's the point? Who are you giving up in a Charlotte deal? I don't see that. I don't know if James Bouknight and PJ Washington get that done, and does it actually make your team better when you don't have Miles Bridges anymore? It's a lot of questions. Then what do you do with Terry Rozier? There's too many question marks there. I think it's destined for the Knicks to happen. Like, and this is coming from somebody who initially didn't want the trade. You know what I'm saying? So this is not necessarily Knick bias, but it's like there comes a point where you can't ignore the smoke that is all around you. Like, eventually you're going to find the fire, and that's just what I feel about that.
All right. No, I totally understand. And if I was a Knicks fan, I'd probably say the same thing. My issue is being outside. I can see how Utah could be using the Knicks for leverage is all I'm trying to get at.
Oh, absolutely. They're 100% doing that. They're trying to get a better deal by saying the Knicks are like I said, after Shams broke that, there were literally 4 different spaces last night happening about the Knicks at midnight. And like with multiple people, and I just keep hearing, the Utah Jazz front office probably report with the Knicks' offer and blah, 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 because they're trying to hike up the offer. But when it's all said and done, from the teams that are actually interested, I do not believe anyone can outbid the Knicks. Like, everyone, we're betting against ourselves.
All right, Mo, hop in here, and then we'll head down to a couple more hands that are raised. Thank you, everybody, for popping in. Give some shout-outs down below. Saint from Nets Kingdom and Nets Kingdom AJ are in the building. You can catch them on YouTube and here on Spaces, talking all things Brooklyn Nets. Let's talk Knicks is in the building. Iman Adan of Dishes and Dimes and Yahoo Canada Sports is here as well. You can check out her words over at Yahoo Canada or Basketball News. And she was up here last week, talking Kevin Durant to the Raptors. So I need her to also talk Donovan Mitchell to the Raptors, because I found out that when she talks about it, it's not going to happen. So she says Donovan Mitchell to the Raptors, Mitchell ain't going to be traded, period. And I kind of want that, because the All-Star game is in Utah, and I ain't gonna lie, I might make that trip because it's one of the cheaper cities to actually go to an NBA game. And if there's no Donovan Mitchell in Utah, I'm gonna be disappointed, man. Mo, what you got?
What's up, brother? I'm here. Do you mind going to somebody else when I just come right back? I'm sorry. I had to take care of
Yeah,
something.
no problem. I got you. Big fan Breezy. What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me. Shout out to the whole room. I'm big fan Breezy with the Brooklyn Nets vlog. Half of Who Run the City, the podcast with my guy T Time. He does Knicks and Ish. I know that. Last year I trolled CP the franchise with Knick Fan TV. I called up, did some good work, got past security, and I asked him. No, well, I was commenting on for what he said about the Knicks wanting to win it all in 2024. I guess the season of 2023 to 2024 or 2024 to 2025. So I'm saying all that to say, with the team they got now, with the roster they got now, I thought they were confident in maybe even reaching the finals or having it all. But if they get Donovan Mitchell, then they definitely going to have to see about winning it in 2023 or 2024 is consistent with what he said. Now, I'm saying all that to say, those draft picks, some of that is a bluff. Ain't no way they're going to use all of those draft picks season after season. They're gonna trade off and try to get a player they want. They're not fooling nobody. And the only reason why I'm saying this because the Brooklyn Nets been running the city for the last 2 seasons. I mean, it don't mean nothing to y'all, but it mean everything.
Running the city, bro.
Hold on. Let me finish. It means nothing to nobody but Big Fan Breezy. Everybody doesn't care about it, but I do. And I'm saying that to say I love it because since me and T-Time started the podcast Who Run the City, we haven't lost a game. Now, the significance of me saying that is with all of the rhetoric about Katie and Kyrie and all of that, just it's kind of like the Yankee, if you from the tri-state area, it's kind of like the Yankee Met series, the Subway series. So, you know what I mean? So, you know, and our window to win it was now. And the Knicks fans were saying, oh, yeah, y'all supposed to win it. But I'm like, yo, y'all wasn't doing nothing for a while long. For like 8 out of 9 seasons, y'all ain't make the playoffs. So I'm always debating with them. But my point is now with that, they got this new team. Their window of opportunity to win it all happens like right about now, especially if they get Donovan Mitchell, which almost will put the Brooklyn Nets and the Knicks in the same category for really trying to win the championship currently.
I've got to do this. I found new game show music. And Big Fan Breezy might not know what's about to happen.
Talk to me.
I've got a trivia question for you, Big Fan Breezy.
All right.
Y'all like this new game show music? Like I can't use the Price is Right because of Trey.
It's very soothing. It sounds like elevator music, but I'm back like I'm going to the game show in the elevator.
What's going for?
Yeah, no. I give it a 10. I give the game show music a 10.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
What do the Brooklyn Nets and the New York Knicks have in common the last 2 seasons?
The Brooklyn Nets and the Knicks have in common. I've been so busy seeing what the difference was. I say underachieving.
Let's try again. You want to give another answer?
Yeah.
All right, what you got?
In common. I don't know. The Godfather, the Steve Nash is RJ's Godfather. That's a long reach.
Nah, you ready to give up?
Yeah, I'm ready. What's up?
They both finished behind the 76ers.
Ouch.
Chris, taking shots at 10:30, Chris, huh?
I'm not trying to jump lines, but I had to say something to Breezy. I had 2 things. You said y'all haven't lost the game since y'all been doing the podcast, so y'all must have clearly started in the offseason. And then 2, how in the world can you say the Nets run New York, but James Harden is out here giving out his own money out his pockets to fill up playoff seats?
The Nets don't even run their borough. They don't even run the block. They don't even run Atlantic Avenue and Pacific Street. And every New Yorker knows that.
All right, let
But
he finish up his Knicks takes, and we'll go right up to you, Mo, and then we'll head down to Tej. And we're gonna bring in an outside voice like mine, who's just gonna troll the hell out of both y'all anyway, and that's my friend Amon, because that's how good she is. Go ahead, Big Fan Breezy, finish up and let Mo come back in.
All right, I'll lay the play say that if they get Donovan Mitchell, the Knicks are supposed to win it just as much as the Nets are supposed to win it now. Not 2024 to 2025, but now. I think it moves the needle immediately.
All right, I'm trying to figure out, because like, even if they get Donovan Mitchell, I do not have the Knicks ahead of the Bucks, Celtics, Sixers, or Raptors.
And you're 100% right, Chris.
Mo.
And I'm a New York Knicks fan. First, before anything, Chris, I always appreciate you having these spaces, man. Always a lot of love to you. Always a great space. I'm not a delusional Knicks fan. I'm not a biased Knicks fan. I obviously love my team, but I like to give knowledgeable takes and not something that's just going to be very casual and saying we're going to win the championship. I still don't think the Knicks are going to be a top 6 team. I'd say probably 6 or 7, maybe, if the chemistry is there. It's going to take some time to mesh all these guys together. Some players are high usage players. I think Donovan Mitchell's going to play well off the ball. I mean, Donovan Mitchell in Utah wanted a point guard. He wanted Mike Conley to come there. But Mike Conley got there probably 5 years too late because he was getting older at the time. But I think a player like him with scoring attributes, he can play well off the ball. If he gets a good point guard like Brunson, that can actually get him involved in the offense. I think the biggest question mark to me is Julius Randle. Julius Randle to me will not accept the role of being a third or fourth option, especially if RJ Barrett's going to sign his extension this offseason, leading him to be the 4th highest player on this team after Mitchell is here. So I think the situation with Julius Randle is the biggest question mark for New York. I think that we should do whatever we can to try moving him. I don't see a scenario where both Julius Randle and Obi Toppin are here in the beginning of the year. I can't see the Knicks going back with 38 minutes a game for Randle and just 10 minutes a game for Toppin. So I see one of them being moved. There's no way they're both going to be here in my eyes. So I can see multiple team deals. But what I think the Knicks will offer, probably I'd say Grimes, Evan Fournier, Derrick Rose, and 5 first-round draft picks, 3 unprotected and 2 protected. Maybe some people think it's a lot. Maybe some think that it's not. I just think that we have a lot of young assets that we can keep on this team, allow them to develop. And maybe this is just a step to make a bigger trade later on next year. Because if the Knicks move just 5 picks and we had 11 picks in the next 7 years, we're still capable of moving other picks with some of the young assets that we have to get a bigger fish after acquiring Donovan Mitchell. So I think a lot can happen out of it. A lot of people can bash the Knicks all they want. I just feel the front office is finally going in the right direction. Patience is a virtue. I think they're going the right way. It's going to take some time. I don't see championship right away. I think we're a couple of years out, but it's just great to see the Knicks actually going in the right direction in the front office, taking lead. So I think that's a good thing. But I appreciate you, Chris, always.
Absolutely. And we are here for round 2, ladies and gentlemen. And this time it's Mo's turn. Mo, don't go anywhere. And Breezy can come in here and Jay Knicky can after you get your first shot. When is the last year that the Brooklyn Nets and the New York Knicks finished ahead of the Philadelphia 76ers?
2013, I believe.
Good guess, but incorrect. You want to give it one more time? All right, he's out. Breezy.
The other year, we was just in second place going to the playoffs. That was 2020, I think.
2020. Are you sure about that, bro?
I mean, all right. Well, last year, it wasn't last year. It was the year before that when we was second place going into the playoffs.
Listen to the question, man. Both
in
the Nets finishing ahead of the Sixers.
Oh, damn. Shit, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna say 98.
J. Save your fan base in your city.
I'm gonna say, oh, this is hard. I'm gonna go deep and say, damn, bro, I don't know. This is crazy. When were the Sixers the worst team in the league? What year was that? Was that like 2011?
2015, 2016, ladies and gentlemen, the Philadelphia 76ers went 10-72.
I knew, that's what I was looking for. I couldn't remember the year. I don't remember the year that the Sixers literally got more wins than like I don't even like I've gotten in my like I can. Yeah, never mind.
Just wait until we do the Raptors.
Chris,
he's coming at your dome today. Me personally, I wouldn't take that level of disrespect.
Oh, hey, it's not disrespect at all. I'm just in a good mood because I was right about Keegan Murray.
I'm about to say, Chris, you must be really enjoying yourself trolling the Knicks fans like this with your Sixers. Like, that's just nasty.
Well, no, I'm enjoying trolling both the Knicks and the Nets fans.
I had a question, Chris. Did you draft Keegan Murray yourself? Did you make that phone call?
I didn't, but a lot of people think I had some type of say, which I didn't, because I've never worked for, nor do I work for the Sacramento Kings. But I want to give a big shout out.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, what's
and then I'm gonna shut up because I need to get some work done. How did that story come about?
How did what story come about?
That you work for the Kings.
Go talk to Paris Anderson.
I will go talk to Paris.
Go talk to Paris Anderson. He's a good guy. Had like half of NBA Twitter thinking I was working for the Kings or an NBA plant. It was insane. Up next, Adan, one of the femme fatales holding down the fort for women in the world of hoop on the excuse me. Dishes and Dimes podcast. That really went off bad. Like my mind blanked, and then my son's cat was looking at me, and then I got caught looking at him, and my mind went blank. Cats are really evil and weird. Adan also writes for Basketball News. You can also catch it on TV and radio if you are a diehard Raptors fan. She is a must follow because she single-handedly moves Raptors Twitter. That's how dope she is. Iman, good morning. Your thoughts on the Knick about to Knick and anything else you got?
Thank you. Such a kind intro. 50% lies, guys. But yeah, I like Donovan Mitchell as a Raptor, something that I see people are pushing out. It's not gonna happen. It's never gonna happen. The Raptors don't want it. It doesn't make sense. Let's dead that shit right the fuck now. And I do agree that like of the teams that should be interested in someone like Donovan Mitchell, the Knicks have the best package. But it just feels like such a fucking Knicks move at the same time too. Like you guys are now going to have the smallest backcourt, and it's just like. Also, maybe this is the Canadian in me just wanting to see RJ Barrett kind of see things flow through him a little bit more, see him get more touches, see offense go through him to be like, oh yeah, we're bringing in this ball stopper and Donovan Mitchell, who had really trashed catch and shoot numbers this year, but like, I feel like that's more of an aberration than like what's actually true to his game. But it just feels like such a fucking Knicksian move, and I just like I heard someone say. And I'm sorry, I my phone was down, so I didn't know who the speaker was. But like the Knicks are gonna be like win now mode, similar to the Nets. The Nets had Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving, three of the most offensively gifted players we've ever seen touch a basketball. Two former MVPs, and still really at the height of their career. I know people talk about Harden like he's washed. He was definitely not in that first year with the Nets. The Knicks have Jalen Brunson and Donovan Mitchell if this gets done. It's nowhere on par. I think it kind of caps them out. It just feels like a very Knicksian move. But, like, if you want to win and you want to compete because you just have not been competing, sure. But, like, I don't know that this puts them in top 4 in the Eastern Conference even. So, like, I don't know that I love it. And I'm probably a little bit biased because I do see RJ Barrett kind of being the guy who's hurt by it if he's not included in the trade. Just because you're not really, and maybe there's limitations to his offensive game that I'm just like trying to be a little bit too optimistic of. So maybe it makes the most sense, and like it'll be a fun backcourt. Like on offense, it'll be fun to watch. I'd like to see how it gels because Donovan has kind of been known to be a ball, but like Utah has a really interesting space for him, and I think coming into the Knicks and playing alongside Brunson should be interesting. If you're paying Brunson all this money, you're gonna try to fucking compete. So put the best team around him, I guess. But this really does sort of cap your team off, and I don't think it caps it in a way that's like gonna truly be elite because that backcourt is not gonna be able to stop anybody. They're really not. They're so entirely small. That's gonna be the smallest backcourt in the league by a considerable margin, and I just don't know how they stop people.
Wait, Chris, before you say anything, since Iman, you're a Raptors fan, right?
Yeah.
Was it a problem when Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet were your starting backcourt?
Well, Fred VanVleet is literally an all NBA level defender, and Kyle Lowry is when he's at his best too. Granted, Kyle Lowry was not that for the entirety of the time there, but like as someone who is not a fan of undersized backcourts, the only reason Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet worked is because they can guard up a position, which is what they constantly did, right? Like you can't post up Kyle Lowry because his ass is too fat. You can't post up Fred VanVleet because he's built like a fire hydrant, right? So like they were just. And like Fred is gonna stay in front of you. You can look at Steph's numbers, and like the one player that like actually does a good job of limiting him, and the reason why he started over Danny Green in the fucking finals. In the finals, Nick Nurse was like, "Hey, Danny, I know that you're a multiple-time champion. I know this is like kind of your thing, but you're actually going to be benched in favor of Fred VanVleet because we need someone who can guard Stephen Curry. Like the box and one doesn't work if you don't have that one." So, like, Fred and Kyle could only work because of their defense. If both of them were not all NBA level defenders, and there were moments where Kyle wasn't, and it did fucking hurt, but he could play up a position, so it was fine because he could guard guys bigger than him because of his fucking size. Being sturdy helps. That's just not what Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson are. Jalen Brunson's built like Fred VanVleet. Like I'm fine with like an undersized backcourt that like includes Jalen Brunson and someone else who is a good defender. I'm not fine. Like I would be worried about a backcourt that includes Jalen Brunson and a bad defender. I think you can probably play Jalen Brunson in an undersized backcourt. I just don't know that the player opposite to him can be Donovan Mitchell and it still work.
Can I question you on that, Chris? If I don't want, can I just respond to that real quick?
Yeah, because I actually agree with her because the one thing she left out is they also had Pascal Siakam.
And they had Marc Gasol, right? Like they had Kawhi Leonard, they had Marc Gasol, they had literally like an OG Anunoby, they had like defensive player of the year talent around them too. So like Pascal Siakam is like your free roamer who like is what is the term in football, free safety, who just roams around and is one of the like just with his sheer length and size can just be a menace like with help defense. And you also have Marc Gasol who can clean up absolutely everything, or Serge Ibaka, or like they just had an elite defensive team around them. And Fred VanVleet and Kyle Lowry, also really great defenders.
I just didn't like the term. It's a Knicks thing to do when we've seen multiple teams in the league run small backcourts. We've seen Portland do it. We saw Memphis. I mean,
no. I'm not saying it's the Knicks. It's the Knicks thing to do to run a small backcourt. Like Portland has done it for 50 years.
Though. You actually said it's
no. I'm saying it's a Knicks thing. I think it's a Knicks thing to do to go all in on Donovan Mitchell because I just don't know that I think this caps your team off. I think it's going to be an exciting team, but I don't think this is going to be a winning team. Like to liken them to the Brooklyn Nets, who put together one of the greatest teams that we've ever seen, doesn't make sense. So to me, to call it a Knicks thing is just like, what is Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson really going to get you?
Can I please respond to this?
Yeah, please. Go ahead, Mo.
Okay, I mean, if you all watch college basketball, Donovan Mitchell was brought into the NBA out of Louisville primarily because of his defense. He was actually one of the best defensive guards in the country, and that was the reason why he was going into the league as a prime defender, not as an offensive player. And he got into that scoring option due to the team that he's playing in Utah, where he became the primary handler in Utah to be that scorer. Now, you're talking about the defense on the rest of the team. Mitchell Robinson could lead, if he stays healthy, could be in contention for the Defensive Player of the Year award. The guy's averaging 2.5 blocks a game. Great player, young guy. He's long. Stretch the floor for you guys on the defensive end, and he can guard his position as well, and he can help defense on it. Tom Thibodeau, as much as people want to hate on him, he's a defensive-minded coach. 2 years ago, the Knicks were top 3 in efficiency for defense in the whole league. So I know that like a lot of people want to bash the Knicks about it, and it's always fun in games to bash the Knicks in the media-wise, but RJ Barrett also is a solid two-way player. The Knicks have some players that can play defense. Donovan Mitchell can defend, but in the situation that he was in Utah was the reason why that he turned into just a scorer, not on defense. I'm pretty sure underneath a coach like Tibbs, who's a defensive-minded coach, that will change a lot. I understand the Jalen Brunson being an undersized guard, but he's shown, besides his analytics and all the numbers, he's shown that he can play on-ball defense. He's played some defense throughout the year of all last year with Dallas in the playoffs. He's been able to hold with his primary defender, whoever he's playing defense on. So I feel like it's all just media against the Knicks, and people want to bash the Knicks on, and I understand. But I feel like everyone forgets that Donovan Mitchell was brought in here from Louisville, having a great college career by being a great defender. So I think it's more than that.
No.
I don't know that I completely buy that. I will say to your point about Jalen Brunson, I said myself, like I could if he was in if he was in an undersized backcourt with someone else who was I could trust as being a good defender, I would have no issues with it. Him paired with a bad defender on the backcourt is where I have a bigger issue. And to your point about Donovan Mitchell just being in a situation in Utah, when they brought in Mike Conley, and like what was their defense that second season that Mike Conley was there? They were the best ranked defense in the league at that point, the third. They were in the top 3 somewhere. They have Race O'Neal. They have Rudy Gobert. They have Mike Conley, who took over some ball handling duties. They have Joe Ingles, and still Donovan Mitchell just didn't even try. He's small, he's long, he's athletic. Like, he should theoretically, you look at him, you're like, you're long enough to be able to do this shit, but he's small, and you see the limitations with someone like him. If he turns out to be a good defender, I'll fucking eat my words and say it. But like, we've seen enough of his NBA career and never seen it at any point. Like, you can't shut a guy down for a single possession. Like, you can't, like, you become someone that people are attacking in mismatches. Like, you become that guy, but you hold yourself up as like, I was a great defender in college. Okay, well then get a stop. No one's asking you to like even carry it multiple times, but you just watch them in the playoffs and you're like, there's a reason why there's a limitation on this team, and it's because Rudy Gobert can't do everything for you defensively. And also a bit of a ball stopper too. And like, I'd be interested to watch him play off ball. I think his catch and shoot numbers this year to cough are a bit noisy because they were pretty shit, and I don't think that he's a shit shooter. So like, I feel like that should just improve, and it was probably a 1-year aberration. But I do think that there's something to sort of take into consideration. I think that the Knicks are probably going to be the team that get Donovan Mitchell. It feels very Knicksian, and it'll be interesting to see if it works. I do just think this puts a cap on your team. This, like, I feel like if we were having this conversation a decade ago, it'd be like, what is Amari Stoudemire and Carmelo Anthony going to be defensively? Like, how is this fit going to work? I feel like that's what we would be talking about. But we're doing it with Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson, who are two talents that I just don't think are as good as Carmelo Anthony and Amari Stoudemire, but that's a whole other combo.
I want to say the issue with Donovan's defensive metrics is that they're heavily skewed. He can be a switchable defender, and he can be a good perimeter defender. He cannot stop drives. Period. If you attack him vertically and you get your body on him, his 7-foot wingspan isn't stopping him. That's why he's given up 70% less than 6 and 65% in less than 10 feet in. Like, that's the issue that we say when you put him and Jalen Brunson, who is also a good, stout, sturdy, switchable defender. You are still then now over-relying on your help defense to help stop drive and penetration, which then will cause you to overcompensate when they kick back out and you have to rotate the ball, and then they're just going to swing it back and get an open 3. That is what did Utah in every playoff series.
Every single time. And I just want to say that, like, the Raptors are not in the running, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't know that the Heat have a better package. I just don't think that Tyler Hero is like, because to me, maybe Danny Ainge just fucking loves Tyler Hero. Maybe it's like, we need a white star in Utah. Maybe there could be something there. But I like Danny Ainge, to me, seems like a guy who's going to be going after picks so that he can sort of build his team up, and the Knicks just have more to offer there, and I think the picks are going to be better than the team that's coming off of being the 1 seed in the East, and like would surely be a really, really dope team. Donovan Mitchell's fit in Miami would be phenomenal.
It'd be perfect.
But like, the Raptors are not in the running. Like, anybody who sees that noise, that's some bullshit. It's never gonna happen. What the fuck are we gonna do with that tiny ass backcourt? Where the whole goal of the Raptors is to be long and switchable and fun. And I just think Donovan Mitchell is gonna be a bit of a ball stopper. Gonna need the ball in his hands. Gonna take away possessions from Scotty Barnes, and it's just not gonna work. Also, defensively, he's just gonna be a liability for a team that doesn't want to have a single liability on the court. But I do think the Knicks are probably the prime team in the running. I think it's going to be them. I think you guys can trump any offer that he put out. So yeah.
All right, I want to get Tejsh in here, and then Jay, the Wakandan tech support, and then we're going to go in to possible Miami connection with Donovan Mitchell with Mr. Anthony, the Bad Takers. We have Mo from Mo Knicks up here. If you like basketball talk, you got to check him out when he holds his spaces. He's reaching out to a lot of the beat reporters covering some of the teams, getting in some good questions. Go ahead, Jay, Tejsh, we'll go to you first. We'll get Jay, the Wakandan tech support cleared out, and then we'll deep dive into Miami.
Good morning. Hope everyone's having a blessed day. The reason why I do think the Knicks are going to land Donovan Mitchell is specifically because of that draft day trade with the Hornets. Like, OKC was possibly the only other team that I could see getting Donovan Mitchell with the draft picks if Danny Ainge does want those draft picks. And with that Ousmane Dieng trade, that basically said that, okay, the Knicks are loading up on draft picks to go for a star, and I feel like it's definitely going to be Donovan Mitchell. And it's also reported that Danny Ainge is in love with Quentin Grimes in his summer league so far. So if Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson do come together, I'm extremely worried for Knicks fans, specifically because of that court being terrible defensively. Like what Chris was saying about Donovan not being able to stop the drive. Rudy Gobert was there to help Donovan if there was a drive. And I'm sure Mitchell Robinson is just as long and just as tall as Rudy Gobert, but I don't know if he is Rudy Gobert, especially injury-wise, if Mitchell Robinson can even hold up for that long. But if he does, then I can see something happening. But I also feel that Julius Randle is a big pivotal point for the Knicks. I feel like they need to get rid of him because Obi Toppin next to Mitchell Robinson, I feel like, is their answer. And Julius Randle taking up 25% of the shots is just not going to work for them. Him taking those stupid fadeaways. God, that was so annoying to watch in that Hawks series. Oh, my goodness. But Julius Randle, and also, if you think about it, if Julius Randle does stay, it's just really weird to think about paying Jalen Brunson $25 million a year to be a fourth option. You know, it's just I don't see how that's going to work, and so that's why I really feel like Julius Randle is going to be on the move at some point, but it's going to be pivotal for him to be on the move. So that's all I got.
Man, y'all. One of y'all, well, not one of y'all. Some of y'all are gonna wake up one day and realize that Julius Randle is one of three things: A, a really good basketball player; B, a curmudgeon in on the court; and C, owner of one of the most valuable power forward front court contracts in the league. Like he's gonna give you close to 20 and 10 at 22.79 million. Like the Knicks don't want to trade him. Like that's why they didn't trade him at the deadline. They probably could have traded him in the offseason. They value his contributions and production, but they value that contract. That contract is golden. It's just golden. He's going to give you max player production at 67% of the cost. Jay the Wakandan text report, your thought, and then we'll head up to Mr. Anthony, the Bad Takers. We have Jose, aka Paradox Killer 23, in the wings, and Nat. Reese Rebel 31 has joined the stage. I want to welcome everybody down below. Thank you for spending any part of your pre-Friday here with us on Hoop Spaces. If you're new and you want to come on up, raise your hand. We ask that you shoot a follow and you like and retweet the show card. That's the very first tweet. It's like this real big blocky purple thing. It's got the title of the actual show. That's the only currency as Spaces creators that we get. They have all of the data. They see everybody that comes in and stays and leaves. But what they don't get is the engagement aspect. That is where you come in. So if you've been here for a while and you've never done it, all we ask is that you take 30 seconds, go up top, like and retweet. It's that simple. Jay the Wakandan tech support, hop up in here. And then next up will be Mr. Anthony and the Bad Takers, and then Reese Rebel 31. Thank you, everybody. Good morning.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? I think what Miss Aiden was saying was spot on. Like, and what makes this Nickian is not that they're going to get an all-star. It is what's the plan, right? When you see the Knicks go get Jalen Brunson, and you say, okay, they're getting a guy, another score-first point guard, but who can move the ball, and he's going to be a better version than what Kemba Walker was supposed to be last year. Fine. But then when you go get Donovan Mitchell, it's like, so you're going to get two Jalen Brunsons. You know what I mean? Like, what's the plan? Because the Knicks have been telling us for 2 years that they need to build around RJ. They need to build around RJ. And when the Knicks front office keeps bringing in is guys who don't want to defer to RJ. And so if RJ is supposed to be your franchise cornerstone, he's supposed to be your version of Jason Tatum, your version of Brandon Ingram, or your version of Zion, why do the Knicks keep bringing guys in who are not going to defer to RJ? And if you're saying that Jalen Brunson was going to defer to RJ, I would counter that you don't understand how NBA locker rooms work. There's no way Jalen Brunson's coming in at 25 M's per year deferring to RJ. He's not. We already know how Randall feels about deferring to RJ. And then if you bring in Donovan Mitchell, he's really not deferring to RJ. And so for me, it was Nickian about these transactions and these moves is that it's just getting a whole bunch of talent, which kudos for getting the talent, but there's no plan, or there's no good plan, or there's no sensible plan. And like, how is it supposed to work? So it's like, okay, you get Donovan, you get Jalen. How do you match up with the Celtics? How do you match up with the Bucks? How do you match up with the Hawks? How do you match up with the Nets if they keep Kyrie and KD, which is likely going to happen because the Gobert trade screwed up the market? But that's what's Nickian about this, and I know Knicks fans are tired of getting picked on, and I get it. But if you swap out Kyle Lowry with Donovan Mitchell, that makes sense. Like, you need a guy who can get you a bucket in an isolation situation with a whole bunch of defenders around him. Now, I get that the Donovan Mitchell trade to Miami is just not going to be, Mitchell for Kyle Lowry and a couple of picks. But you kind of see the plan. You kind of see how that fits together because you still have these defenders and Jimmy Butler and Bam around Donovan. And yeah, you got Mitchell Robinson, but ideally your closing five is going to be Brunson, Mitchell, RJ, Randall, Robinson. There's only one defender in that lineup, and that's Mitchell. Even if you put Obi Toppin in there, like, okay, you got two defenders. There's five guys on that court. And that's what's crazy, is that the Knicks are capping themselves out with a whole bunch of talent, and they're going to score a whole bunch of points. But when it comes to the playoffs, they're not going to be able to get any stops. And I think that that's what has people on the outside scratching their head, is why are you going to get two Jalen Brunsons? And that's it.
I want to make sure that the Knicks fans in here know, like, they won't be done if they make this move, right? I think we all understand that if they make this move, it makes them unbalanced. So I expect, another move to come, specifically, like if they are somehow relying on 5 first-rounders and then like Quentin Grimes and a couple other young pieces, maybe Obi goes over there. What are you doing with your bench unit now? Because let's say you do bring in Donovan Mitchell and he starts at the shooting guard and you manage to keep RJ Barrett. Like, are you really going to trust your bench to Emmanuel Quickley and Evan Fournier? That is, I think, a question that also needs to come up with Knicks fans. Like, it changes the entire dynamic of your second unit. Will Derrick Rose have to be added in because of contract? Like, they're not going to add Isaiah Hartenstein. They can't, anyways. I don't think until December. It's an interesting problem that the Knicks are faced with, and I think that's where the narrative of the Knicks are going to Nick, or this doesn't make a lot of sense, comes in. And we'll ask another Knicks fan in a couple of minutes. But up next, we're going to do a deep dive with Donovan Mitchell and the Heat with Mr. Anthony and the Bad Takers. I want to shout out my man Bad Guy down below, Wayne Cole in the building as well. Make sure you follow Wayne for some Wizards content on your timeline and some positivity. Like, we don't get enough positivity here on Twitter. We really don't. I wake up and I finally get on here, and like, I see from last night, the negativity always seems to win. But here, we do want to add some positivity. And that's why we're bringing up Mr. Anthony and the Bad Take is coming off a wondrous Summer League expedition, excursion extraordinaire. Tony, how you feeling? Have you been drinking water? Are you back to normal?
Yeah, it's been a journey. 4 days in Vegas in 114-degree heat was an adventure for sure. Summer League was an amazing time. It was great to be there for the first time credentialed. I think Sean Marks spent more time on his feet than in a chair. I've never seen one human in so many places. I went to play beer pong at an amazing pub in Vegas called O'Shea's. If you ever get a chance, go. It's right there on the Strip. And he was just there. He left Summer League and went to O'Shea's. It was like 10 o'clock at night, and it was the wildest experience I've ever had in my life. This man had clones of himself. He was talking to everyone and shaking everybody's hand. But that's the kind of experience you can get at Summer League. I advise everybody to go as a fan or as media. It's such a dope time, such a cool place, so many faces, so many names just by you. It's great.
All right, so you are here, and I'm glad you are here. It's been a minute. I hope all is well, but right now we need you for some Heat talk.
Right.
Heat seem to be the only known active suitor for Donovan Mitchell. They also have a player, and I know what people are saying, that GMs are coming out saying, well, they prefer RJ over Tyler Hero. Like, no GM is going to tell you anything like that in live person. That's you take it with a grain of salt, you smile and you say, okay, and you put it in a report. But Donovan Mitchell to Miami is a real thing, specifically if KD is not available. And this is not unknown to those who don't pay attention, who pay attention to Miami Heat news. Talk about it, because if the Knicks can't pull this off, Miami's going to sneak in here. What are we seeing Pat Riley doing once he wakes up?
Yeah, the question is, does Pat ever wake up from his midday nap to kind of facilitate this deal and get it moving? I think that there's a couple pieces. Obviously, the Donovan Mitchell fit, as Amon alluded to, is incredible for Miami. They desperately need shot creation and secondary facilitating. Donovan Mitchell fills that role and is also a 20-point plus per game scorer, right? We have the defenders to help him out. We can put him on the weak side of actions. We could also just challenge him to be better. Someone alluded to earlier that coming out of college, Donovan Mitchell is one of the best defenders in the NCAA, and that's absolutely true. I do think that there's a challenge thing here for him. I do think that it's also the reliance of Rudy Gobert and how they would like to, this is part of Utah's scheme, they would like to funnel drivers into Rudy. I don't know if that becomes a mindset thing, as a player, you just start allowing blow-bys more and more. His blow-by statistics are horrendous. He looks like he's playing in 2K17 when you could glitch out the game and extend your shoulders to the max length. He looks like a defender trying to guard that every single game. But he does have incredible wingspan, and he has all the measurables and size to be a good intangible defender. It's just a question of, does he actually have the desire? Because he can defend better than he does, and I do think some of that's schematics. Now, let me get to the downside for any Miami Heat fans in here. It does not seem like Utah wants contracts they have to extend. It does not seem like Utah wants salary filler either. They want assets. They want picks, and they want players that might be able to be portable in their next build. And while I think Tyler Hero is definitely an asset and, a great player that allows him to play basketball, now they still have to field the team. You can't just run out there with 4 guys, 5 guys. They still have to field the team that's going to play basketball for a whole season. And Amon also alluded to the great white star in Utah. It was hilarious. I could see that too. Danny Ainge, 1, doesn't like us, and 2, I would assume doesn't like the pick package or assets that we can throw at them. Now, the reason that Miami's in this conversation is like the allure of Pat Riley and the presence that he demands. A lot of the time, Miami will try and trade assets that they have for picks to open up a package. If the other team really wants picks, they get a 3rd team involved, a 4th team involved. That's something that definitely could happen going forward. And that's a way that this deal could get done. But it really does seem like the Knicks are locked in and that they're engaged. And if there's a framework for a deal, usually that's about it. It's about tapped at that point. Frameworks can blow up and things can go south on that, especially if there's a specific talking point that they're arguing. But for the most part, once they get to this portion of a deal, it's pretty much capped. And I also want to say this, Chris, we talked mostly all year because we love to hate the Knicks. And Sean and Cedric say often that you love the Knicks. You either love to hate them or you love them. There's no in between. And they're absolutely right. I do love to hate the Knicks. I kind of disagree with this whole idea that the Knicks are doing this without a plan. What was so painfully obvious all season to me was how lackluster all the playmaking was. We talked about earlier in the year, Chris, I don't know if you remember this, we talked about skill set acquisition. Sometimes it's not about taking a team and trying to improve its better overall, right? Like if we're bringing it back to 2K terms. Sometimes it's about adding skill sets to make your offense more malleable, more versatile. Right now, before the Jalen Brunson acquisition, it was all isometric. It was isometric with RJ Barrett. It was isometric with Julius Randle. And they went out and got a player that can secondary create. And also, if they need to run isometric scoring, do that. It was the one skill set that they desperately needed. They needed a point guard. They just needed one. Without it, they weren't going to win games. And they didn't. So when Kemba came in and played good for a couple games, the offense actually looked better because they had a guy that could put the rock in his hand and then facilitate. If they end up getting Jalen Brunson and Donovan Mitchell, they plug a hole with two extremely, extremely talented scorers that can solve that problem. Now, the defense is another question. Maybe they approach that at the deadline after they see what this looks like. But I think sitting here and touting it as the front office has, no clue what they're doing is us just loving to hate the Knicks. I think they have a pretty good clue. They're trying to improve their worst spot last offseason. And then, like you alluded to, they're going to probably assess this again at deadline. They're probably going to look at the build again. So if they get both these guards or just one of them, they have to feel better about their chances today than they did last season. And I think as a front office executive, that's all you're trying to do. Just improve the team every year.
Oh, absolutely. And I think if they do, and like you said, if there's a framework, there tends to be a deal. If they do end up acquiring Donovan Mitchell, I think the New York Knicks will probably improve to at least a 500, if not better team. My issue is I don't care about the regular season if I'm trading for a top player. If I am trading for a top player, I am looking at the postseason. And that's why I said they won't be done if they make this deal, because if they make this deal statically, they just won't have enough. And we know that because they don't have enough currently. Because if they had enough currently, they wouldn't be trying to make the deal. So, like, it's not a narrative of anti-Nick. What it is a narrative of your team isn't good. It's trying to be better, right? And Donovan Mitchell makes them better, but does he move the needle for the Knicks as a playoff team? That's the question that we have because, if you look at it.
But he has to. He fills a skill set that they were desperately lacking. He has to move the needle. I mean, there's no other option. It's Donovan Mitchell getting added to the roster. Like, we can sit here and say that we don't think they're contenders, but teams don't really build that way. There's some teams that build that way, the Houston Rockets, the Golden State Warriors. But for the most part, it's about getting there because you don't know the optics of what's going to happen every season. A Kevin Durant injury, a Chris Middleton injury. The landscape changes at the drop of a hat. You have to put together a team that can win basketball games. That should be the only driving function. And I think that's basically what they did.
All right. Yeah, no, I don't disagree.
They're more versatile, at least, right? There's more ways they can win basketball games.
Correct. I agree. I want to bring in Hot Take Harry. He is also a Miami Heat fan. We'll give him some talk here about Donovan Mitchell. And then we'll go to Reese Rebel to get her take. We have Ant. We'll get his take, and Breeze and Jay the Wakandan. I want to thank everybody for popping in. We will get ready to reset the room in about 15 minutes so we can go to Jose of 77 Spaces and the pickup card game. All right, there you go. We have our marching orders. Up next, Hot Take Harry, ladies and gentlemen. And that is a long name, but that's Miami Herald, DBA Enlightened Purveyor of Garbage. There you go. That's a long-ass name, dude.
Yeah, you didn't have to read all that, but thank you. Appreciate being on. I just wanted to get on. There are just some things that were being said earlier that I didn't think made a ton of sense. There was someone, and if I misquote anyone, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to keep track while doing work at the same time. Someone had mentioned that like Tyler Hero's value around the league is lower because some people had come out and said certain things, or GMs are saying things. Just a couple things with trade rumors and the offseason, like if you're being told something, it's because someone wanted you to hear it. There's reason why this information is out there and why it's delivered in a way that it is, and through the spokespeople that it's delivered to. So we know that Danny Ainge liked Hero coming out of the draft, that there was the stories that Boston was going to pick him at 14 before he went to the Heat. In terms of Mitchell, we obviously know that the Heat wanted Donovan Mitchell. He was definitely the guy that they were probably focused on before Utah jumped them, and they ended up with Bam. So obviously I think it kind of worked out for both teams. The story last night from Shams and Tony Jones is interesting if you're trying to read through it, because if the Knicks are the team that they're focused on, that's not really that wordage, and the way it's set isn't really. It's not going to make the Knicks give up more necessarily if they think they're the team that has the most stuff. That's probably them just trying to get better offers from the other teams that are in the Donovan Mitchell sweepstakes. Because if you're told that you're the promised team, you kind of know that maybe they like the assets you have, and it might just be at the time you're not giving up everything that they want. So there's just kind of Ainge he has a lot of people he likes working through the media. So whether that was Danny Ainge or whether that's Mitchell's camp because he wants to be in New York, you always have to take everything you read with a grain of salt. I do kind of think that Mitchell eventually ends up on the Knicks. I'm not sure what the price is going to be. I feel like a couple young guys and 3 to 4 picks probably eventually gets it done. But just to disagree with Tony a little bit, I don't know if signing a guy to an extension necessarily is worrisome for a Utah team. Like, yeah, they want to tank and they're probably going to enter the Victor sweepstakes, but you need a roster. You need young guys to build around. Tyler has skills that make him a very good offensively gifted player. And so I kind of think if that was something that they were interested in, it's not that far-fetched that they could come to Miami. It's more about, are they getting enough with Tyler to make the package better than what the Knicks could do or another team we're not hearing about? And that's kind of, I think, what happens with a lot of times with this, Chris, is that, people forget that with free agency, the free agent is making the decision on where they want to play. In terms of trades, like the Jazz are ultimately going to decide what the package that they want to get to move Mitchell. So, a team can put everything on the table and it still might not be enough if they don't like everything with it, or if they think another package is better. And if the Knicks are going to hold on to RJ and that's what they plan on doing, they probably have enough to get it done. But, there's going to be a time where a decision comes, maybe Ainge is willing to hold out for a while where the Knicks aren't. I mean, all that stuff is going to come into play. So, they probably had talks about what it might take, or what the deal is close, what it might be. But, that's just something that we'll end up seeing over time. But I kind of think I think he probably is going to the Knicks, whether it's the move that is going to be great for them. Like a lot of people have been saying, that's a pretty small backcourt, and defensively, it's probably going to be more about effort with Mitchell going forward, and maybe getting out of Utah is going to make him, play a little bit better defensively. But we'll just kind of have to see. And the Knicks, we joke about them a lot. They have to get the star when he's available. I don't think people are flocking to play in New York all the time based on their owner and other issues that they have. So if they're willing to get talented guys to come to New York and they want to be there, right? Like wanting to be in the place, they probably have to take that risk, and it's just about how many picks are they willing to give up to make that happen. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
All right, let me ask this question this way. Pay Judge is saying that he believes that adding Donovan Mitchell to the Knicks would make them at least 10 games over 500. 10 games over 500 would have put them on pace to tie Boston and Milwaukee to be second place last year. Do we think Donovan Mitchell to the Knicks improves them by 15 wins?
That sounds kind of high to me, but I don't see why they wouldn't be a playoff team. My issue with the Knicks and kind of what they do, and especially I don't know how much longer Tibbs is going to be there, but he kind of lays it all on the line in the regular season. You know, their guys play a ton of minutes when it's just not something that is it's just not going to lead to success in the postseason. It never really has. So, you know, Tibbs has caused some bad injuries in the league over his career. So, as you know, you might think he's a great defensive mind, but he has done some damage to the guys who have played under him. And so that's more my thing. Like, yeah, they'll get some more wins. You know, that I do like that they brought back Mitchell, and if they could get rid of some of their dead weight in this trade to make the salaries match, then that would obviously help them out. But in terms of like really competing against the Celtics, the Bucks, the Sixers, the Heat, I don't see that right now. So obviously, like you're saying, there could be more moves to be made, but I mean, again, it's a risk they have to take for a team that, you know, they made the playoffs the year before and then didn't even get close this year.
No, they got close. They were outside of the play-in up until a week to 2 weeks before the season ended.
All right, yeah, sorry, I'm outside of the play-in isn't that close to me. So I mean, it's just not like that's not obviously where they wanted to be coming off the 4 seed the year before. So, you know, that's just
so. What are we saying? Chicago Bulls Part 2? Is that?
Well, like I'm asking because I view if Donovan Mitchell does go to New York, like I see them currently as is a 44 win team. You know who won 44 wins last season? The Nets. Like I don't see them going 10 games over 500 by simply adding Donovan Mitchell. That's all I'm saying. Like, what do you think, Tony? And then I want to make sure that we get Reese Rebel in here, and then we'll get a good reset so we can bring in Jose and pick up card game and Jay the Wakandan. Your thoughts, Tony? The Nat pick up after Tony's done.
I think a lot of people are too scared to say I don't know, and I really don't know. I have no clue. I think they're going to win more games because they just suffered. They drudged down their offense so terribly. They defended. You know, they hoped for defensive victories and marginal victories with players that I don't consider to be high IQ guys. That or they were in the past, and now the athletic ability is so gone that they can't execute on the defensive side of the ball as they once like to. And then completely flatlining with Evan Fournier. Oof, boy, he had some games, bro. When we were doing those Tony Snell awards, man, I think he's an addition by subtraction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're gonna be better. It's weird to think of them as like a 1 to 3 seed or 1 to 4 seed. But I guess it's not. Chicago held that one spot for most of the year, you know, until their players started to get injured. We always knew that what Chicago would look like in the playoffs if they stayed healthy. And it really wasn't probably coming out of the first 2 rounds. Maybe I'll look at the Knicks that same way, but I really don't know at this moment. I think that I have to see what happens with Donovan Mitchell. I might personally consider them a better team with just Jalen Brunson and a move at the deadline to try and solidify that rotation. But, you know, I'm keeping that opinion real quiet right now.
Yeah. Nat, hop in.
Yeah, so I am not a fan of Donovan Mitchell in New York. I mean, you know, whether he goes or not, it still doesn't put you in a spot to me where it's like you're doing that much better. You know, to me, it makes sense to have Jalen Brunson. I get that. But why are we trying to make things harder for RJ? Whether he leaves or he stays, why are we making things harder for RJ? RJ should be the guy that you should be trying to really make sure he develops. So then you go and get Donovan Mitchell, that messes everything up. It just seems like the Knicks, they're trying to get names, and I it's frustrating because I'm like, damn, you're doing so good. Jalen Brunson made sense, and then now you're gonna throw Donovan Mitchell in there, and then all of this hate for Julius Randle. I just don't understand it. The guy has never been a number one, and that's kind of the role that he's kind of been given. Lead us somewhere, and he's just not that guy. He's like a number three on a really good team. But what he does, I think it's taken for granted, especially at that power forward position. If you look around the league, there's not a lot of power forwards that can do exactly what he does. He can give you that 20 and 10 at a contract-friendly level. Jesus Christ, he is gold, So I just think that kind of how people are looking at it is just all wrong. I don't think that really makes them better. How do you really match up with Boston or with the Bucks? You're not going to win those playoff matches. I can guarantee you now, if you go in with Donovan Mitchell, and Julius Randle and Brunson, and that's the core of your team, you're not going to beat those teams. Like that, I'm telling you, you don't match up well right there. So then what? And then there's another side to it as well. The free agency class of next year, I don't think it's that great. I don't see a lot of guys that maybe move the needle for them either. So maybe they're looking at it like that. You do have LeBron. LeBron's not going to go to New York. You do have, I think, Russell Westbrook or was it Chris Middleton, Kristaps. We've done that already. Kevin Love. I get it. They're trying to make moves because maybe they are looking into the future. Maybe they do see that 2024 is not that much better. You have Klay Thompson, who will be 35 or close to 35. Tobias Harris, who'll be 32 or around that or whatever. Chris Middleton, 33. Maybe Pascal is probably the best option in 2024. So maybe they are just looking ahead and saying, well, we got to make a move now. But I'm not sure if the move is Donovan Mitchell. To me, Donovan Mitchell makes sense in Miami. I get that. I understand why they would do that. But New York, I just kind of think sometimes the best move you can make is the one you don't. And I'm always going to also say with New York, I think that the main issue to me is Tom Thibodeau. That is one guy that he just gets a pass every year. And I think that he is actually one of the bigger problems where they maybe get another coach that fits what they're trying to do and move on from Tom Thibodeau. Then, maybe we can see greener pastures. But I don't know. I don't agree with Donovan in a Brunson backcourt.
All right. I like it for one of the reasons that was shared is you've got to get a star. And if this is the way you can get a star, I don't fault you for that as a team. I also, like you, though, I don't like the Brunson and Mitchell backcourt, not because they won't work or they won't win games or they won't score. I tend to dislike redundancies, and I view Brunson and Mitchell more of a redundancy than I think as individual players that bring different styles of play to create as many multifaceted looks as possible. All right.
Agree.
Yeah, no, I know because you got to watch Boston build their team from the youth on up, and it didn't make sense at first, and now they just got out the finals, and I think sometimes we'll take what we see from our teams and project. So who knows? Maybe this does become a catalyst for New York, and they get 10 more wins and tie Boston, Milwaukee, and Philadelphia for 51 wins. Who knows? If I knew, I would not be here. I would be rich because I'd be living the bet life, like Jeff J says over on BetX on Madison Square Garden Networks. And if you're wondering why I'm saying that, that's because he's in the room and he's a diehard Knicks fan. One of the hosts of Live from the Mecca was Cedric Shine and Sean with a W. So if he wants to pop up here to give his 30 seconds, because I know he's a busy man, on what he thinks, he's got the runway. He just needs to let me know. I want to give a special thanks to Hot Take Harry for coming up here and adding in some extra Miami Heat discourse. So it's not always, reliant upon Tony. So Tony feels loved and appreciated and supported in this community of a whole bunch of people who are not going to like the Miami Heat next season. But up next, we're going to go to Paradox Killer 23. These guys and a gal had a tear in my eye last night on 77 Spaces. And then he had told me that he would planned on doing this giveaway, but he announced what the giveaway was, and it is an outstanding package to begin with. And then his co-host actually started adding into it. And I just wanted to give Jose, Rolo, and Jazz, all the love in the world for building a better Mavs community here on Hoop Spaces. Jose, thank you for everything you've done, and what a phenomenal show you had last night. Tell the people, the type of community that you've built by telling them what you provided as a giveaway. Like, I just want you to be able to say, hey, this is what we were able to accomplish through our hard work and dedication. That's all. Just tell the people how good you are. Go ahead, Jose.
We're not on your level yet, though, Chris. Being a shadow GM, having ties all around the NBA, we're not that good yet, but we're getting there.
You know what, Rico? You're right, bro. I actually saw Chris shaking more hands than Sean Marks. You're absolutely right.
I believe it. This man said Keegan Murray, wink, was going to be a Sacramento King 2 weeks before the draft. And, what do you know? Keegan Murray, Sacramento King. But anyways, people have been reaching out to me since I announced the giveaway last night. The giveaway will be a copy of 2K23 Championship Edition. You're probably wondering why Championship Edition. Now, we all love this game of basketball, and not everybody has League Pass. Not everybody's able to access, a plethora of games going on all at once. So what better way to just be a better basketball fan and, continuously support your love for basketball than getting one of the best bundles I think is out there in game and getting the League Pass all in one. Also, some people have been asking me, how do you enter? I'm picking 15 Mavs fans and putting their names on the list and then randomizing that list on September the 8th to see who wins the cash, so you could be able to buy the game. So, just want to show love and support to all the people who support us on 77 Spaces and helping us grow as a platform and a place that people can come and talk about the Mavericks any way they feel like. So it's just for Mavs fans. I know we have most hated Clippers fan. I probably give him an exception since he's been in 77 Spaces a lot, since he's a Lucas fan and he's always joining and talking about the Mavs. But really, the goal is here is to, possibly give one of our day one supporters the chance of getting this bundle. But Chris, loving the conversation. Y'all pretty much wore out the Donovan and New York topic for me. I really don't care about what happens in New York because that's a different conference, way different state than what the Mavs and the Western Conference got going on. And if you take Donovan Mitchell out of the Western Conference, hey, good riddance. I will say that I would like to see him more in Miami just because, man, I think Jimmy Butler and Donovan Mitchell would be really fun to watch, and especially since Jimmy Butler, I do not want to see that man bent over, huffing and puffing, and after every single game, trying to lead the Heat to success. But that's all the time I got right now on stage, Chris. Appreciate you for bringing me up, and I appreciate you for building a great community that we could all be a part of.
I appreciate everything you've done to help build the community, and I urge everybody to shoot Rico Suave a follow at Paradox Killer 23 and go on this journey of 77 Spaces and the other team rooms we have. We have Golden Spaces. We have affiliation with Nets Twitter with Brandon Saint. We have, excuse me, have a Raptor Space with Nelly and Fahim for the win. And if you are a fan of a team that we don't have a dedicated space for, like, think about doing your own. All right, I want to give a reset here because this time I'm going to welcome up some new people up on stage that you haven't heard from yet, and a couple that you have. But up next, you're going to hear from the Pickup Card Game. You can find the Pickup Card Game over at slamgoods.com. Slamgoods.com's online marketplace created by Slam Magazine. So its vested interest is providing you, the consumer, with a cornucopia of basketball-related paraphernalia, games, items, and merchandise. The Pickup Card Game is the best option you have over at slamgoods.com. So what I want you to do is open up your Google machine and type in Pickup Card Game Slam Goods. Head over there and put it in your inbox. Like, I know some of you might need to be waiting because you just spent $400 on Amazon Prime Day. That's okay. We got you. Just put it in your cart and come back in 14 days after you get paid and buy yourself a piece of history. That's what this is. Pickup Card Game, floor is yours. How you doing today?
Hey, Chris. Good morning here from Vegas. And first of all, big shout out to the whole entire community. A bunch of folks have been receiving their Pickup Card Game. I've been posting about it. CJ, appreciate you. Saint, appreciate you. Rolo, everyone really speak on it. Rico Suave, thank you so much. So in general, just thank you all for supporting the game. Pickup Card Game is an awesome card game. Lets you be a GM, coach, and player all in one half-hour game. We have a quick game that's 2 minutes long. This is a great intro to a full game, which we're trying to really push out there. So check it out and support. I'm going to take off my Game Flow CEO hat and put on my Knicks fan hat. This is Chi talking now. This is not Game Flow talking. I do not want Donovan Mitchell. Not right now, at least. And I think Reese Rebel made a great point. I would love him at the trade deadline for a cheaper price. But I think right now, from a team makeup standpoint, the Knicks don't have a vet, a guy in the locker room who's going to keep things even keel. We just lost Taj Gibson, and I think even though Taj wasn't playing much, Taj was really a great mentor in the locker room and someone who kept the team together. This young group of Knicks, I'm talking R.J. Barrett, I'm talking Obi Toppin, Quentin Grimes. These guys like to spend time together. These guys like to go out and talk and laugh. I'm at the Summer League right now. I watched the Pelicans team. I saw Zion, Ingram. I saw the whole team come and watch the Summer League team yesterday. They were on the sideline laughing and joking, and the one guy who was in the middle was C.J. McCollum, being that vet who kept them together. If you bring in Donovan Mitchell, the Knicks will have Julius Randle as a vet. And as a Knicks fan, I do not want to see Julius Randle come game 25 pissed off that R.J. Barrett and Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson are getting more shots than him per game. That's an ugly, ugly Julius Randle when he's pissed off and pouting. Yes, Mitchell is a great talent. He's phenomenal basketball player. But we got to talk about team makeup and team dynamics. I think if you bring him in right now, the Knicks do not become a top 4 team in the Eastern Conference. Yes, I want him. I love his contract. I think to your point, Chris, Julius Randle's contract is great. We got Brunson on a really good contract as well. So from a salary cap standpoint, I think Mitchell's contract fits that whole let's get some guys who are top tier, but at a discount. I like that move from a front office standpoint, but you can make that move at the trade deadline. You can make that move for a much cheaper price, and you can see what you have right now with your young guys. Let them go out there and play, see what chemistry develops, and from that point, decide what happens. And who knows, right? Some superstar might become available come trade deadline. You never know. But to me, to go all on Donovan Mitchell right now is not going to make the Knicks a top 4 team in the East. And therefore, I'm going to pass on that. It's just that simple, Chris.
All right, I can definitely understand both sides of the coin here, and as a fan of the team, I'm a Sixers fan. For those who don't know, who are new here, congratulations for finding one of the best basketball conversations you can have every day, Monday through Friday. And if you do miss a show, head over to YouTube. We're powered by audiolabs.io, and you can catch all of the uploaded videos that are being produced here. From the Spaces content, we'll be completely caught up Sunday, by the way, so you can watch like 2 whole weeks of shows. Anyway, I digress. My question.
Chris, last point, Chris. Let me ask you a question, Chris. A little trivia question for you, Chris. I mean, since you like to do trivia so much.
Yeah.
Name the coach that could possibly make a Jalen Brunson, Donovan Mitchell, and R.J. Barrett lineup work. Name the coach. What coach would make that happen?
You're hitting on the hilarious part.
What's up, Scott? I tell you, the 3 coaches that I think would work all have jobs. Let me just put it that way.
I mean, seriously, are the Knicks going to have like 200 shots a game?
That's wrong, Chris. That's a for you, okay? That's the coach who can make that work, his name is Jay Wright, and he's currently on his couch. I talked about Jay Wright last year, right, being to me a phenomenal NBA coach, possibly. He's taken some time off. He retired from coaching college basketball, but he's not retired coaching basketball in general. And Jay Wright is known to make multiple guards work to a phenomenal level, especially undersized guards. So if the Knicks are going to get 2 undersized guards to run their backcourt to R.J. Barrett, give me Jay Wright right now.
Jay Wright would be the next coach of the Sixers. You can have Doc Rivers. All right, I've got a lot of hands to get to. I've got Breeze, Jay the Wakandan, and CJ. I want to get to those 3. Then I want to bring in Jeff J Says, and then we're going to talk to Scott. Nothing but heat, and I'm going to give you a pref. What do I want to use here? A preface. When Scott and I are going to talk, I need you guys to allow about 7 to 8 seconds to go.
I'm just step in here for a moment, big guy. Chris, I know you're sitting there picturing me having hash browns with cheese, some sprinkled on Tabasco sauce, some rednecks sitting here with no shoes on or something like that. I'm down with that. I hear you, dog. Keep that vision. But I think fans need to realize some of these trades were put in motion months ago. For example, I think Donovan Mitchell was even playing back in April, even before that. So this is no shock to me to see that. But the build of the New York Knicks is really killing me. I mean, we're going to a shorter backcourt when we're seeing taller backcourts working in favor of like Boston. And then you're going to have R.J. Barrett, Julius Randle, Brunson, and Mitchell all sharing the ball. I mean, what is that, 20 shots per person right there? So everybody else is going to definitely be left out of the offense. But I've always preferred an offense that without a team with an offense that would outscore you. I love defense, and I can see the Heat going the defensive way. But here you got the Knicks going all offense. There's really no balance between the two right now. So what I think the Heat need to do is just add a little bit more of an element of offense, more balance. That's what's going to win you a title. Just like Golden State, they had that balance between the two.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I think this is a precarious position for New York because if you do this, you are moving to a more offensive-oriented team. Jeff J, what do you think, man? As another diehard Knicks fan, I know that you've been following this team for years, and you've already spoken on Live from the Mecca about the amount of times that New York has tried to get a star and has never been able to get it. You have one available, but what do you think about Donovan Mitchell to New York?
Oh, peace, Chris, peace. I want to let the people who had their hands up go before me. I want to go in the order. So,
all right.
Breeze and CJ had their hands up. So just call me afterwards.
Appreciate it. I didn't know if he had a heart out. We'll go to Breeze first. He's been waiting the longest. Breeze, we appreciate your patience. Go ahead, man. What you got?
Okay, first, a question for you. You said, well, my bad. Good morning. No, let me just say that first. I didn't want to come in the room hot. My bad. So you say you don't like redundancies. Quick question for you, just yes or no. Is Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and is Kawhi Leonard and PG redundancies in your opinion?
No and yes. No to Tatum and Brown. Yes to Kawhi and PG.
Okay, thank you. So I just want to say, all right, for one, I'm a Knicks fan, for one. And then two, I'm gonna just get this out the way. I can't be hurt anymore. I'm not an emotional Knicks fan. I'm good with Donovan Mitchell. I'm good without Donovan Mitchell. It's been a long journey for me and my Knicks fandom. They can't really get to me anymore. So with that being said, I watch everybody's team do whatever move that they need to do to just, their version of competing. The Knicks moves always have to be championship driven for everything. It's like I don't think that's possible. If you everybody's giving me, their takes for 5 years down the line and saying, the landscape of, how you building your team. I'm not a particular proponent of everybody building their team the same way. For one, like somebody wins a championship, teams try to model it. That's until somebody else comes and break the mold. Not to say we're anywhere near championship, like with Donovan Mitchell, like period. But I will say to the trade. So if we're looking at the current landscape of the NBA, it's trending younger with Golden State implementing youth with the players that they already have. So everybody projecting them to get at least, one or a couple more championships. Outside of that, if you are a team that has a chance to get a player in a young that's in the young group of players, okay? We don't know what the 5 years of the NBA looks like, okay? Moving past the Durants and Brons and those people, now you have the Ja Morants, the Tatums, the Bookers, the Lukas, the Jokic's, the Embiids, the trades, okay? You want to get a young player and then build around that going forward. If you don't have one, you can't be able to play. Everybody is giving me you're giving up too much for Donovan Mitchell. But then when I ask the question, who would you give up that package for? You're going to name players that you would have to give up more for, in my opinion. So just in general, I just think if you have Donovan, you get talent first and then you build around it. If we had the perfect team to just add Donovan Mitchell to, you prop a player like Donovan Mitchell in, and you still have to figure out adjustments. Maybe it's a bad fit with the 2 and 3 or 3 and 4.
Can you elaborate on the Knicks front court? I'm sorry for cutting in. I'm Deb. Can you elaborate on the Knicks front court?
I ain't saying anything about the front court yet. I was just saying with any team, it's hard to build a team, not like to build a team and then add a superstar to it, because that still changes the dynamic. So I'm saying even if we had the perfect team for Donovan Mitchell to just sign, it then immediately changes when you get Donovan Mitchell. So it's hard to build either way. Now the only thing I'll say to the trade, and this is my last point because you're a popular man, Chris. The Knicks cannot give a group of young players and picks. You're going to take a L with the picks or the young players, because when people bring up the Carmelo Anthony trade, we were set back because you then aged up your team to try to win with Carmelo. The difference is that Donovan Mitchell fits into the timeline of the rest of the team being young. And if you trade all of the picks, then that means you still have the nucleus of the players that you just drafted 1 to 2 drafts ago going forward. And or if you trade in those, then you have the picks going forward. So they can't do a trade where they lose both, like extreme amounts of picks that turn out to be something down the line, and the young players you have on the roster. I'm cool either way. I've been hurt. I heal like Wolverine as a Knicks fan. Thank y'all.
All right. Heals like Wolverine. That's a good setup for later. Jay, hop in here, and then we'll go to CJ, and then we'll bounce back up to Jeff J Says. Thank you, everybody.
Hey, what's up, everybody? The Knicks played at a really slow pace last year. So getting Jalen Brunson helps that. And with Donovan Mitchell, you're going to shoot way more threes. Like Donovan Mitchell took, I think, 600 and something threes last year. And the closest guy on the Knicks team that shot that many was like Evan Fournier with like 619. And while a small backcourt naturally ups the pace that you play at, the Knicks were a really good defensive team last year, according to defensive rating and points per game, which the slow pace helps that. And I do think that people are unfairly criticizing the Knicks, wanting them to make championship moves. And I think that's fair. But the thing that I always ask is, if teams in the NBA go through cycles of lottery hopefuls, playoff hopefuls, dark horse championship contenders, if the Knicks are trying to get to playoff contender, then this move is fine. My issues with the Brunson move and the Donovan Mitchell move has been just about RJ. I just wanted to make that clear. Like, if RJ is the guy you're building on, bringing all these guys in to take all these shots, and again, you need guys to shoot threes, and if this is the way you want to get your three-point shooting, fine. But to me, you're solving one problem, but then with the small backcourt, you're opening up two more problems. And so, and then we don't know what the deal is going to look like. I'm not going to judge a deal that hadn't been made yet. So now the question becomes of how do you get those defenders around that small backcourt, and how are you now going to develop RJ? And I think that's really the catch-22, for lack of a better term, of it all, is that I see the positives of it. I think a lot of people agree with the positives of it. It's just, do the positives outweigh the negatives? And then the other thing is, what timeline does this put the Knicks on? Because somebody brought up the Carmelo Anthony trade, and what people killed the Knicks about with the Carmelo Anthony trade was, it's the same mistake the Lakers made with Anthony Davis. It's just the Lakers got a championship out of it, was that you made the trade when you could have just waited and got the same player for free. And obviously you can't do that with Donovan, because I think he has like 3 more years on his deal. But yeah, that's the only thing with the Knicks. It's not that you're adding a great player or good player, depending on your semantics. It's what timeline is this team on, and where does this leave RJ?
Chris, could I quickly respond to one thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I'll say with the just for the RJ Barrett thing, I don't think adding talent around RJ hinders his development. For one, he's like manufactured, like he is developing, but at the same time, there's things on the basketball court he doesn't have naturally. So you need somebody on the side of that who has those kind of natural abilities, who it doesn't take 8 to 18 dribbles to kind of get to a move. So then it could kind of take the pressure off him. So I think at the end of the day, RJ was never probably going to be the number one here, I don't think. So you were always going to be putting him alongside somebody. Now I can see how you saying Brunson and Mitchell would kind of be too much for him. But at the same time, I just believe that you have to have somebody to take the pressure off him until he gets a little more like natural skill basketball wise. Because if you watch RJ, he's not efficient yet. It's still a lot of things he has trouble with, dribbles and things of that nature. So you want to bring somebody with those natural abilities to take the pressure off him having to do it. That way he's developing as a player, and it takes pressure off of him.
I want to break in here to let everybody know that it's finally halftime, and the Liberty are down by 35 points. 71-36, Las Vegas Aces on top of the New York Liberty, and it is not a pretty game at all. If you are a Liberty fan, I'm not sorry. And if you know a Liberty fan, you can go ahead and reach out to them to make sure that they are indeed okay, because this game is not conducive to anybody's mental health.
Do people owe the Aces money? Because they have been whooping on teams like they are shorting them on their check, bro.
37-13 in the first quarter. Like that is a pick your switch whooping. That's what that is. CJ, I'm gonna give you 60 seconds, then we'll bring in Jibril because he actually also came up prior to Jeff J, and then that way we can clear the board and give the man, the myth, the legend, the leader of Power After Hours some extra time so that we can hear his words. CJ, go ahead.
I was actually gonna completely change the topic, so I don't want to move away from it. So you can go ahead and go to whoever else.
I love how people say they are gonna change the topic that I want to hear about. I love it. Shout out to Dany D and Young Harriet. They are actually on my screen diagonally on each other, and I want one day for both of those ladies to be up on stage because I think it's going to be hilarious. Jibril, what's up, man? Thanks for finding us here on Hoop Spaces. Here's a point for you. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. I just wanted to join in. You know, I never heard you before, so.
All right. So the topic that we're talking about that we'll get ready to wrap up with Jeff says is the Knicks and Donovan Mitchell. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't think he's a proven winner in my opinion. So I don't think I wouldn't touch him. He's not even better than Jaylen Brown in my opinion. So, you know.
All right. I see that you're a Boston Celtics fan.
Yeah, you know.
Real quick.
Yeah, so and I don't think they can compete even if they get Donovan Mitchell. They can compete with the Celtics or even the Heat. So I'm just throwing that out there. That's all I got to say.
Appreciate it, Jibril. All right, there we go. We cleared the hands, and now it is time for the man who brings in the paychecks over at Madison Square Garden. That's the MSG Networks. That is Jeff J, host of BetX over there on MSG Networks. You can also see a lot of content over at BR, and he's got his hands on that. And as I said, if you are into pop culture, there's very few people that you want to follow on Twitter. He is one of those people headlining Power After Hours. That's Jeff J. What's up, Jeff? Your Knicks, are they going to nick? Are they going to screw this up? Are they going to, talk themselves into paying more than what they should? Or is everybody going to be happy?
Chris, what's going on? What's going on? First of all, WWE should hire you tomorrow because the way you wrote this topic, I see what you're trying to do. The gimmick is gimmicking, my brother. The gimmick is gimmicking.
Thank you.
I see what you're doing right now, and I love it. All I can do is revel in it and watch the money pile up, like Lloyd Banks once said. First off, I love this. It's an interesting phenomenon that happens whenever all-star players are tied to the Knicks, that all of a sudden they're overrated and their stock immediately drops. It's as if it's like the Enron effect for these players, where all of a sudden the plaudits and the accolades that they got no longer matter because God forbid they may be on New York, and then all of a sudden, at least according to some spaces of Twitter, they're trash, and even like national media too. So I revel in that, and my one thing that I always say about that is the Knicks could sign 1993 Michael Jordan right now, and I would say that he drinks too much Henny and he's a degenerate gambler and he's not going to make the Knicks better. There's no way he could elevate him. That's the Enron effect that happens with the Knicks. But talking about this trade, I think if you look at, there's a couple of things that you should look at from the Knicks over the last couple of years and the moves that they made. I think that a lot of people, especially y'all that don't really follow the team, you have to separate the narratives from the facts and the context and the nuance that are actually going on. We know what the national narratives have been about the Knicks for years, and part of that was earned, part of that was, over it's like the inflation effect of slander when it comes to the teams, especially big market teams, especially anything to do with New York City. If you're a New Yorker, you already know what it's about. Um, if you look at the moves that they made, right, since Leon Rose has been there, they've had 1 year where they overachieved and 1 year where they underachieved. And in those, and throughout those, they've made prudent, team-friendly, flexibility based deals. Nothing. I don't believe anyone can look at any deal that this team made since this era and say they got fleeced or it was a bad deal or it was said that even on draft day when everybody was doing backflips because of all the trades. You was on the spaces, Chris. You heard the discourse where it went from what are you going to do with these protected picks and what are you going to do with that? Then all of a sudden the DeJounte Murray trade happens and it's why didn't they use those protected picks on DeJounte Murray? You know what I mean? It's you got to pick a struggle, y'all. You got to pick a struggle and you got to pick a narrative and just roll with it, right? I think Breeze had said it earlier. It was one of the points that I wanted to address. Adding talent to a team will not affect the growth of the players because when you look at some of the players, the major all-stars that have developed, they've had the talent around them at some point in order to reach that next level. I don't think that adding Donovan would stunt RJ's growth. In fact, I think it would help in that. And RJ is the type of player that he's a hard worker. He's grinds. He gets better every year, and nothing is really going to stop that but him. Right. So I don't think that, for one, I don't think that would impede it. Two, in terms of the deals, been checking a lot of the beat writers out, checking a lot of the history and just reading along. And what I gather from this is it seems like Danny Ainge-based teams value picks over players. Like they may be trying to be the new OKC or the old Boston in Utah right now. So if you see the reports about Miami's initial deal being pulled back because they were like, yo, you could have this Tyler Hero. They were like, all right, but what about them picks though? Yeah, you find a friend, get some picks, and then we could talk about your Tyler Hero thing going on, right? The Knicks right now, 11 picks between their own picks and other first rounders that they have, and a bevy of young talent. The way it's looking right now, we can always be wrong. We don't know what the actual deal is going to materialize into. But for me, if they're able to keep a majority of their young players and still be able to get Mitchell, I think it's a move that you do. These guys, he's 25 years old. He's been to the playoffs every year, but I believe his first year. He's a multiple All-Star. This is a dude who makes your team better. Also, he's 25 years old, and the Knicks would still be building around a young core. When I see people mention like, what is the plan? The plan is to progress and get better as a team. This is a team who won 37 games last year, and if you were watching this team, I kid you not, there's at least, and I'm going to be conservative, at least 10 games that were lost because there was no direction. There was no direction from a I don't even use the archaic point guard mentality, but just like offense initiating perspective. There were games lost, leads lost, all these games to where half those games are won, and this is a completely different conversation. This is why you bring Jalen Brunson in, who was the second best player on a Western Conference Finals team that all of a sudden is overrated because he wants to play for the Knicks and be on a deal. Everybody pocket watching about this money don't realize that the NBA is about to re-up on the salary or on their TV rights deal, and 20 million is going to look like what we all make in here combined. Right? 20 million is about to look like what we all make in here combined. I know I know the money is flowing. There's a lot of wealth in the room. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying. Yeah, I know there's a lot of wealth in the room. I'm just saying that TV, that next TV deal, they hitting the networks in the head. You feel?
Yeah, 75 billion.
Right. Like it's gonna be like the I Get Money remix with like Warren Buffett on the hook type situation. Like they're really about to come up. So you get Jalen Brunson, and I don't believe Brunson was brought into this team to be the number one option. He was there to elevate players. And I said this even from a betting perspective, right? I watched Jalen Brunson in the playoffs make that team better, especially when Luka was there, ironically, against the Jazz, where I didn't think the Jazz was good, the Mavs were going to get out of that one, and Brunson showed what he can do. Look at guys like Kleber, Dorian Finney-Smith, who I feel like is one of the most underrated players in the league and is a really good player. He got him in positions to maximize his efforts. Dinwiddie, all those guys, like he did that, and he's going to do the same for a lot of the players on the squad. You add Mitchell. I think the whole short backcourt thing. I get what everybody's saying. Brunson is not like a poor defender. Mitchell, he's regressed a little bit, but we'll see. He was playing defense at one point when he was like lockdown defense when he first came in. Is he going to return to that? Those are the legitimate questions that you could ask, as opposed to this vacillating opinion on the Knicks stay pat. Oh, they're trash. Nobody wants to go there. The Knicks potentially take a shot at somebody. Oh, they're trash. Why are they going for this player? They're not going to win a championship. Y'all going from A to Z, and y'all forgot about B, C, D, E, and F. This is all progression. These are all steps that you have to take. And, the concept of all in is another thing that's kind of funny to me, because I heard that Jalen Brunson was an all-in move. I guess Isaiah Hartenstein was an all-in move, and Mitchell Robinson was an all-in move. If they don't give all these picks up, I say shout out to John Macri. He had an amazing point, and it was somebody else on Twitter too. I apologize, I can't give you the credit, but the credit is blame my head and not my heart. That these are the type of moves that you want to get moved into position to make the next move. You know how you say make the next move your best move? If they can get into a position where they are perennially competing for a playoff spot, because that's the next level, right? Because with the play-in, you can't just outwardly tank anymore, because 9 and 10 gets you into a playoff competition. You can't just straight tank anymore. So you want to be in that top 6 contention and then compete. Your young players get better. You develop, keep developing your culture, keep developing your system, and then when that next player becomes available, because now in the NBA, it ain't all about free agency signings anymore. Folks are getting their bread, and they're going to and they're going to work their trades out, which might be another CBA contention point, right? This is where we are right now, and this is how they're looking to build the squad. So as long as they don't give every single thing, which if you read the reports, they ain't trying to do that. So if it don't get done now, it may go to the trade deadline. But either way, I'm all for a move that makes your team better, that doesn't gut your young players. I think the team is not really done, even with this, isn't done making moves yet, and the team is going to look different, vastly different than it is last year. But once again, this was a 37-win team that could have easily have been 44, 45 wins if competency reigned supreme in a lot of those games. So, and I understand that doesn't vibe well with the slander that we all try to get off on teams. I get that, but this is what the real is. So I do think in a competitive East, you need as many guns as possible. I'd love to keep Quickly and Grimes and Obi and those dudes. I tell you this much: if they keep all of them and it's just picks and some other players, we're gonna have a different conversation. So just wanted to bring some perspective to that. Remember, y'all, the narratives sound cool, but they're not really accurate.
Absolutely.
Hey, Chris.
Hold up, Jay. Question I have, Jeff. 50 wins is where the bar is for legitimate contenders last season, right? If you were a team that had 50 wins, you were considered top 8 in the league. You think that with the addition of Brunson, a trade of Mitchell, and if you keep Mitchell Robinson, Julius Randle, and R.J. Barrett, and I actually think Julius is added in this trade, does that get the Knicks close to 50 wins?
I think it gets. I don't know what the I'm sorry, y'all. I'm being lazy. I don't want to look up what the records were last year. But if you, what was the top? What was Who the fuck was 6? I'm
53.
sorry. Who was 6?
Yeah, 53 was Miami. 51 was Boston, Milwaukee, Philly. Toronto had 48. Chicago at 6 had 46.
Right. I think they can. Like I said, if they make all those moves, and it also depends on how they fill out, blah 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 blah. But from what they've made and making this deal, depending on what the makeup is, I do think they can hover around like the 44 to 46 range.
All right, that's
and that's what you call realistic expectation, because you know what it is, Chris, for this team with the young core that's going to be left over, they don't need to automatically ascend. They can go incremental, because this is part of where the rebuild was. The rebuild was always build the younger players, stack the draft picks, and then make a move. Then once you make a move, it's building with that team, continuing to progress. Then the next move that you make will involve one of those players who are going to get primed for that next trade. It's all opportunity. It's opportunity. You know, luck is work meeting opportunity, right? And that's where you have to put yourself in this league. And I believe if they remain competitive and they can stay within that top 6 race, or at least be at the very least be a legitimate team that will be in the playoffs, in the playoff run, whether it's winning a play-in or getting that top 6, I think that is progression. That is the definition of progression, at least in the league, you know? So
I agree. I want to give you a chance to tell the people where they can find you for other stuff other than the great basketball talk that you give every Knicks fan at Live from the Mecca. You got Power After Hours, you have BetX, and you got a couple of more projects in the works, I'm sure. What can the people do to find your content?
Yes, sir. MSG Networks. We have the Betting Exchange, Better and Better, and the Better Hour, 5 to 6 Monday through Thursday. We're on hiatus just like everybody else right now. You know what I mean? If Stephen A. Smith can take a break, I can too. You know what I'm saying? So we on break, and we gonna be back August 8th. We're gonna be back August 8th. Also, definitely tap into everything we got going on at Bleacher Report. Lot of dope content, a lot of, the industry leader. It is what it is. Be mad at yourself. Don't be mad at me. And Power After Hours, if you're a fan of Power, if you're a fan of that series, we have the greatest Power podcast in this or any multiverse. We'll be back recording. Raising Kanan comes back August 14th, I believe. So if y'all like that show, we're gonna be tapped into it and starting our reviews there too. And then general NBA talk, nothing but love for Hoop Spaces. I'm in here when I can chat with the people and talk to y'all. I tap in. And shout out to Chris and everybody who's built this brick by brick since day one. This is a fantastic space, a real space where fans can talk and have real conversations about hoops and bring the nuance and the facts and the context and the fun and the jokes and the slander and the fanaticism that makes us love this game and love what we're into. So definitely salute to you, Chris, and salute to everybody in here. I see a lot of regulars in here. I see a lot of my New York people in here too. So definitely love to that. And before I tap out, if you're a soccer fan, understand that Chelsea Football Club is the Army, the Navy, the Marines, and the Space Force. Y'all other clubs, it was a nice year off. Next year, the Kings of Europe are back. So hide the family, because we are Caesar in Europe. The Roman Empire returns. You heard?
You do realize, the only, I don't follow any of it other than Swansea City.
Sorry
Weird.
to hear that, brother. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I wanted to get something into Jeff real quick before you leave. I don't know if you were leaving, but
oh no, I'm here, brother. I'm here.
okay. I'm from New York, right? My whole life, born and raised,
Yeah,
and
we
I
all
never,
are.
in my 36 years on this earth, heard somebody defend the Knicks as well as you did just now, right? Never. This is on everything I love. I came in this room to chill in the audience while I was cleaning up, and I heard you going, right? You did your thing. I just wanted to point out 2 things, though.
Yes, sir.
As well as you spoke, for somebody who doesn't know any better, you kind of make it sound like the Knicks are blameless victims here, right?
No.
I
apologize. Go ahead.
No. I didn't mind you cutting me off. I was about to say you did a good job, right? But they leaving certain things out kind of make them seem like I felt the empathy just now, and then I remembered certain things. You know what I mean? So it's like the Knicks aren't blameless here, but you did point out something that I said in a group chat just yesterday. This whole idea that, going to get Donovan. First of all, the whole soliloquy went on about all of a sudden, as soon as the Knicks want somebody, then all of a sudden they're trash. They're not good enough. That is the most honest truth about Knicks fans ever. As soon as the Knicks want somebody, all of a sudden they're no good, right? And then the conversation that bringing Mitchell in somehow stunts RJ's growth or so forth and so on makes no sense, because if the whole league would have went, with that train of thought, you don't bring in Bron because it's gonna stunt Kyrie, or you don't bring in Kevin Durant, right? Even if you say Stephen Curry is 1B, you'll say it'll stunt Klay Thompson's growth, but we've seen that work already, right? So I'm all for the Donovan Mitchell thing, all for it. I really want it to happen. I'm cool parting ways with Julius Randle. I'm okay with it. I loved it. Didn't really pan out the second time around. I'm cool with parting ways, but I had to give you your flowers just now. You went off, you did your thing when it came to defending the Knicks. That was my little 2 points on what you had to say.
Prez, I appreciate you, and let me say, no franchise in the history of sports is above reproach. We know as Knicks fans the moves. I can tell horror stories over a campfire over some of the moves that still keep some of us up to this day, right? I deal in the present, right? Like, I can't keep bringing up old stuff. Chris, it took me everything in my power to censor my stuff. Chris, that. I hope you appreciate that. Like, I'm holding on for life, but bringing up old stuff, it doesn't matter. And I'm about the fair, right? Like, if you tell me, like, yo, last year they made all these moves and it didn't work out, that's a fact. That's a fact. It didn't work out, but at the same time, they made those moves flexible so that they could put themselves in the position that they put themselves in this year. It's they popped out the cartridge for those of y'all who remember this. They popped out the cartridge and blew it, and they put it back in to see if it worked. Right, like, that's just what it is.
It's side to side.
Right. They got the cotton swab. They got the Q-tip.
Put it in the freezer.
Because, right, you know the struggle. You know the struggle. So that's what they did, right? And my thing is, you can criticize all the moves. My thing is, let's do it within the context of what's going on, not of the past. Because I Knicks fans, we gotta sit here this whole summer league and listen to commentary about the Knicks that's way off. Like, you got people talking about Knicks fans just need to focus on the youth and build up, and they just want to do this. I'm like, when was the last time y'all was in New York? When was the last time you talked to Knicks fans? If anything, you might find a contingent that don't want to part with anybody and wants to build them and build up, especially this young core that's been probably in my time as a Knicks fan, the best young core of players that I've ever seen. So this is just building off like that narrative that, you can't rebuild in New York. They just want a hot shot to the top, and that's not been the case. So for me, it's always like, and just to let y'all know, like, yeah, we can criticize moves and do this, all of that, but I like to put stuff within the context of what is actually going on and not what we think is going on because of reputation, whether most of that was earned or not. What do you see happening over the next 2 years? What do you see with your eyes? What is the research telling you? What are these beat writers, all the beat writers, everybody, like, the context is there. Let's get, and by all means, if it's just we getting the jokes off anywhere, do that, but keep it real though. Keep it real on what it is. You know what I mean?
I got something from Andy Larson that came out 19 minutes ago, that the Jazz have asked the Heat to engage a third team if they are interested in a Donovan Mitchell trade, because the packages currently being offered aren't viewed as sufficient. That means that they're telling the Heat to get more first-round picks.
They went to the bodega and was like, "Yo, Poppy, I'm not good for it." Nah, you're not, bro.
Yep, pretty much.
Get more picks. No, ball. You got to get more picks.
They can amend a previous trade to gain access to a third one, and right now there's scuttlebutt about how they can get a 4th and 5th pick, and we'd be looking at a possible pre-trade with Charlotte to acquire Gordon Hayward and a first-round pick. And then they would be able to possibly flip Gordon Hayward into, wait for it, Russell Westbrook in a first-round pick. I would give Miami $47 million expiring contract to trade to Utah, as well as a couple of young players and 5 first-round picks or pick swaps.
Don't nobody want Duncan Robinson,
Hey,
bro.
can I just want to give Jeff his flowers because he's done everything that he's done with no Michael K.
Yo, you stupid.
Yo, I've got for whatever reason, Nick Wright popped up on my screen, and like someone get to Nick Wright for me, please, and tell the bro to get a haircut. Like he over here trying to do his best John Wick impersonation. It just ain't working for me, bro. I want to get Bankai.
Yo, Chris, thanks for letting me up, man. I ain't gonna hold up your stage. I'm gonna be in the audience listening, man.
All
Thanks
right.
always, though.
I'm gonna get Bankai in here, Precocious Neophyte in here. We got Napoleon who's joined us, Anthony who's joined us, and Twin Lenses who's joined us as well. I'll get Gabriel up here in a minute. I want to thank everybody for popping in on the back end of the show. We got about 40 minutes remaining. Peace out to my man Jeff J. You got to catch him. Oh, thank you, bro.
And yo, like I said, man, this is a very wealthy chat. Yo, Prez, I seen that Dior shirt, bro. Like it's different. It's different. I gotta go make some money, bro, because I didn't know y'all had it. Like I see chains. I see y'all in here with fits on. Like yo, I didn't know the wealth resides in hoop spaces. You know what I mean? I'm clear now.
Well, tell them to share because I could use some. And by the way, I made Bleacher Report for the first time. I think it was Monday.
Oh, that's what's up.
Yeah.
That's what's up, bro. So you what you saying is you invest in. You not spending. I see. That's where the money direct deposit goes to the what is it? The index fund. Heard you, Chris. Heard you. All right, y'all.
All right, y'all.
All right.
Jeff J says, ladies and gentlemen, is the handle you need to follow. Jeff J says you can catch him on Madison Square Garden networks if you are in the tri-state. And if not, you need to hop up here and catch Power After Hour if you are in the Power of Raising Cane. Phenomenal content. And the dude is hilarious. Like, if he wasn't doing this, I know for a fact that he would be successful because those who are as funny as he and I tend to be more successful in life because we can, understand how to laugh at ourselves. All right, we'll go to Bankai first, Precocious Neophyte next. Your thoughts, and if you guys are wondering, hey, like we really are doing a whole show on the Knicks? Like, yeah, we really are doing a whole show on the Knicks. And why is that? Because there ain't nothing left. Like, free agency is over for the most part. Yeah, we'll get Ayton. Yeah, we'll get Mitchell. Maybe we get KD. But, we are now in the dog days of summer where we got to look at the calendar and we're starting to, the countdown to school starting. I got 30 days. I've got to look at my son now, and I don't have as much basketball to help make the day go by quicker, right? It's that type of stuff. All right, Bankai, the show killer, making his return. Good morning, good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon, Chris. Good afternoon, everybody. They're playing terrible music at the gym. Don't have my AirPods. How do you follow up, Jeff? I'm not even going to try to follow him up because he just completely broke it down and put out a whole essay that was pretty amazing to listen to. But I do want to thank Tony Schwartz. I don't know if he's up here anymore, like in the audience somewhere. But I want to thank Cam, Jay, the Wakandan King, whatever. My bad if I got your name wrong. Tech support. But you guys came up here, and some other people might have done it, but you guys came up here and you didn't throw out the same tired, the Knicks are nicking, or laugh out loud Knicks, or it's the same old Knicks making the same moves. Like, why is it that every time the Knicks look to make a move, a trade, a signing, hiring a coach, is always the same tired trope when somebody comes up? It's almost the first thing some people want to say. Laugh out loud Knicks, instead of just analyzing the move from the get-go and throwing that stuff out. I'm absolutely convinced that to some people, it doesn't matter what moves the Knicks make. It's always going to be bad in their eyes, or it's not going to be enough. We could be in the middle of a rebuild. We could be doing all the right things. We could be trying to get as much talent as possible, get as many picks as possible in order to trade it for a star when there's a good opportunity to do so, and it'll still be viewed as a bad move, no matter what we do. Listen, we've been stockpiling assets for a while. We've been trying. My bad. We've been trying to stockpile assets for a while, in order to make a move like this, right? In my opinion, if we don't have to give up R.J. Barrett, and we get that Donovan Mitchell, I'd be happy, to be honest. R.J. Barrett is the only guy that I don't want gone from the young core. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Obi. I love IQ, Grimes, Cam. But to me, the untouchable is R.J. Barrett right now, in terms for Donovan Mitchell. So if we can get Donovan Mitchell without giving R.J., then I'm good. You know what I mean?
I could tell you the objective, non-biased answer as to why the majority of people will respond to the Knicks moves in such a manner. That has nothing to do with you being New York, right? Like, understand that you are getting it because you're New York, but if you take that out of it, it's because you gave Joakim Noah 4 years and $72 million. It's because you gave Jerome Johnson like 3 years and 5 years and 30, right? Or
Jerome James, 5 years, 30 mil. You're right, Chris.
Eddie Curry, 6 years, 60 million. Jared Jeffrey, 5 years and 30 million.
Chris, don't get me wrong. I completely understand that. And like Jeff says, we all acknowledge the prior moves that the Knicks have made, and the bad ones, right? We know. We're the ones who give them shit about it, right? But at the same time, it's like that stuff happened in the past. After what point do you think, like, okay, it's a new front office, it's new guys who are actually trying to fix up the franchise. At some point you gotta think about it like, hey man, like they're actually doing good. They're doing good. It's not laugh
that
out
shit
loud.
happened when I was 10 years old, man.
Well, but the issue is negative actions have one thing, or actually two things, ahead of positive reactions, right? The one is that they are more easily emotionally tied to an individual. So an individual would be more apt to respond in a negative fashion because the emotional tie doesn't take as long to get invested in, right? Like, you see a cute puppy or kitten or kid and you're like, oh, and you get the endorphins, but they aren't the same type of spike if you are doing something negative like gossiping and making fun of somebody, right? And then it's a time thing. So every time you get one of these negative interactions, because it's so absorbed by the human psyche more readily than positive ones, it tends to take more positive ones over a longer period of time to break the negative viewing cycle, right? So if we view that the NBA is cyclical as in all things, you'd have to then go back in time, quantify all of the contracts and negative interactions that the Knicks have generated, and then you'd be able to possibly quantify when you'd get out of this morass of the Knicks and nicking, right? Like, I chose to say the Knicks about to nick, but I added a question mark because I wanted the discourse to actually ask that question, because I don't think it's nicking beyond creating a heavy redundancy, which they've done before. But like, you don't pass up on a player like Donovan Mitchell's caliber if that is going to be the best player that the Knicks have had over a certain period of time, regardless of optics. That's really the truth.
But see, Chris, I understand it coming from you because multiple times you've broken it down and you've actually said, hey, Leon Rose has actually done his job. He's actually, Hello?
Yep.
Get off that gym
Can you hear
Wi-Fi,
me?
man.
Yeah. That's that gym
No,
Wi-Fi.
I got a
Get off
call.
that
My
Wi-Fi.
bad. No, I was just saying. No, I said that
No,
you
Chris, don't do that,
constantly.
man.
I said that you constantly, you've broken it down, and you said that he's made good moves, that the front office has actually tried to do what they're supposed to do. So I understand that when you put a context like that, you know.
I feel you. You sound as though you are listening to like 80s hair metal.
They're playing
So
some bad music here.
I'm gonna let you get back to enjoying your workout. Keep pushing and self motivating. Lose those pounds. Put on some lean muscle. Get your what do they call that, Anthony? This is the year of the summer of what?
What do you
Never.
mean?
Like it had to do something with shorts. Like something with shorts, man. Like
Hoochie Daddy.
oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, get their hoochie
Oh
daddy.
no, thick boy summer. Thick
Oh
boy
yeah, well
summer.
yeah, no, the thick boy summer is like 808s in me, right? Like that's the thick boy summer. We teddy bears. Bankai is trying to go from the teddy bear to like a lean, mean fighting machine, like a tiger.
He trying to go to Hoochie Daddy. That's crazy.
We gonna go to
Thank you,
Precious
Chris.
Neophyte. You're welcome, man. Runs on fumes, and if you're running on fumes, I suggest you get to the gas station. It is not fun when your car or truck runs out of gas. Like trust me, I speak from experience. It's happened to me once. I was like, damn. I only had like maybe 300 meters to go too. Precious, what's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, it was good, Chris. Yeah, you're not wrong. Sleep is good. Sleep is important. Precocious Neophyte, by the way. It's a Clyde Frazier-ism.
I didn't see.
Khalil here. Yeah. In terms of the Donovan Mitchell stuff, I am one who, like to what Jeff was saying and Bankai was saying, like, I think too much. Like, I think in terms like with regards to the Knicks, like both like the media and other fan bases, again, like forget like this is a new administration that is operating completely differently from prior regimes. Like this Knicks team has never had the amount of young talent it currently has, the amount of picks it currently has in a very long time. We're very quick to move a young player we just drafted to star chase, give up a bunch of picks to star chase, and it's very clear that Leon Rose is not operating that way anymore. And it's really frustrating that we're both encouraged to star chase. Oh, like why are we getting Jalen Brunson? We should be trying to get Donovan Mitchell or Bradley Beal or blah blah blah. And then when we do pursue these guys, whoa, they suck. They're not going to make you a contender. Blah blah blah. And it's really stupid, and it makes no sense when you have other building teams like Chicago or Toronto like aren't say like they're not put in this position where they need a contender tank. Like why the Knicks? So just establishing that like this is new management. And so I'm not concerned about the deal. I think there's no urgency. Even if it doesn't happen now, and like talks stall and they don't open up again until the trade deadline, I think the way this team is built right now is a very sustainable way. RJ is the heir apparent, face of the franchise. We finally have a steady point guard, which this team has not had in 20 years. And, y'all know basketball more than me. I'm pretty sure you can't have a functional team without a floor general when every other team has one. We stabilized the center position. We're young. Like our oldest player is Derrick Rose at 33. And if we trade Rose in this deal for Donovan Mitchell, I think we become the youngest team in the league, actually. Which is crazy to think about. It's crazy. I'm very optimistic. I'm very optimistic. I do think the fit concerns, they're valid, but I think they're a bit overblown. Mostly in the sense of like I expect, and I replied to your question, Chris, earlier about this part was like with Donovan Mitchell's measurables, with the fact that he's not going to be taken as much of the scoring load because, there's a bunch of high volume scorers on that starting lineup with the Jalen Brunson, with the Randall, with RJ ascending as a volume scorer, that he can put in more energy on the defensive end. And then Brunson, he's built like Fred VanVleet. He needs to be like consuming VanVleet defensive film to like, become a better defender. But as stands now, he can guard his position. He's strong. I'm not worried about that backcourt. Like it's not. I don't think it's gonna be, matador defense. I think it'll hold up. And worst case scenario, we have 48 minutes of rim protection. To defend the rim. So I think you have a squad that's still really good, but it's so weird that in the likelihood of us getting Donovan Mitchell, the chatter from Mediaverse and other fans is, oh, we're still a play-in team. Like what? Like I thought so. Like let me get this straight. If Brunson makes us like an 8 seed, how does adding a 26 points per game score?
You're taking it out of context. That is a byproduct of the teams ahead of you, right? Not anything that the Knicks are doing. That it's the teams ahead of you that have to come down. Are there enough teams ahead of you that are going to come down where you will make a top 6 seed? That you're kind of taking it out of context. It's not that anybody is saying what New York is doing is bad and won't make them better. It's saying, is it good enough to move them from the play-in into the playoffs? So make sure you don't take it out of context there.
No, Chris, I understand that context very well. Like, the East is a beast. It was last year. They got strong, Atlanta got stronger. Scotty Barnes is going to make another leap. But like there's still a lot of uncertainties, right? We don't know what's happening with Charlotte. Don't know what's happening with Brooklyn. There's, Indiana's still rebuilding. Like there's enough in flux that a team like a Tom Thibodeau team that treats the regular season like it's the playoffs, in a context where injuries will happen, and I think in a context where last year, we were like 10 very winnable games away, 7 winnable games from being a 500 team, and the 10 to be 40, 45 wins, very winnable games, maybe even a couple more than that because of the most blown 20-point leads, I think, in NBA history. So that's why I'm saying, sure, yes, but then it doesn't make sense that bringing in an all-star when you expect Brunson to be MIP, at least the betting odds are saying that, and possibly an all-star himself, RJ to make an all-star leap, Randall to resurge to at least fringe star form, that team doesn't move up a bit to at least 5-6 range. Obviously we're not going to be contenders, right? We're not going to be top 3, top 4. That's fine, but that shouldn't be the bar when you're thinking about improving a team.
Let me ask it this way: are they going to leapfrog the Heat? Yes or no?
Probably not. But I'm still very confused about that team.
The yes or no, real quick. Celtics.
Oh, no.
Bucks.
No, not with Milton healthy now.
Sixers.
No. Harden's looking good.
Raptors.
Yes.
So you think you can leapfrog the Raptors? Hawks.
Yes. I'm not scared of Atlanta. I'm not scared of the Pigeons.
Chicago.
Yes.
And Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, if KD and Kyrie is still there, but if KD goes to Phoenix, Kyrie goes to LA, that's food. Ben Simmons ain't carrying Brooklyn. I'm sorry.
So then you are basically saying that you are giving yourself a shot against the Raptors, the Hawks, and the Nets, and the Cavs to be better than those 4 teams, and that would put you at 6. The odds are in favor, is what we're saying.
And then that's fine for a team that has never until that 2020, 2021 season, we hadn't made the postseason since the Melo era. Why is it bad to get better? I don't understand. This team will never tank under James Dolan's ownership. Nobody will not under a Tom Thibodeau coaching staff. No, it will not.
Nobody's saying it's bad to get better. What we're saying is your expectation that you just stated for us, it's a little bit unrealistic.
I don't think it's that unrealistic. I really don't. That yes, that freak 2020-2021 season where we were fourth seed, is fool's gold, is a mirage. But that was a worse team, a less talented team than the team would be now with the additions of a Jalen Brunson and a Donovan Mitchell and a ascendant RJ Barrett. Like, just objectively a more talented team.
I would say next year they're that good, but this year, I mean, it takes time to gel, right? I think that's my main point. Like, teams have to gel. These are human beings we're talking about, not just a bunch of like NBA 2K players. And the locker room is important. So I think the Knicks, if the Knicks get like Donovan Mitchell, okay, maybe next year, right? We make a push and get better with some good contracts, but they're not a top 4 seed this year with that move. That's just how it goes.
Sure, I agree. There's no disagreement with that, and I think that's fine. That's perfectly fine.
I'm just saying that I don't even think they're top 6.
I think we are, and I think if you're making a move for Donovan Mitchell, your decision making shouldn't be, does this make me a contender, or does this bring me closer to being a consistent playoff team, a team that can make the playoffs on a regular basis. And I think that is the decision, like that is the mindset this front office is going in with that. Like, you need stars, and like he's an established star. You can not pursue him, right? And then just hope that Brunson or RJ or Randall
and Precocious, we are agreeing with the sentiment behind the argument. We're just not agreeing with the argument. That's all. Like, we all agree you're supposed to get better. We all agree Donovan makes them a better team, and we all agree adding Donovan, at least on paper, makes them a more competitive team. Where we disagree, I think, is where a lot of Knicks fans who want to say that perhaps we are undervaluing. We're not undervaluing. We see it as you're undervaluing the competition. We're not even saying you're overvaluing yourself. We're saying that when odds are against you with teams that have equal or better stars, that is where you start saying, okay, you are now making the argument that it's going to be the sum of all parts, yet you're going to have to get rid of some of those parts. And like, once you get rid of some of those parts, you then have to replace those parts with other parts. And then that is where the hiccup is going to be. It's not getting Mitchell. That's going to create a probably highly competitive starting 5. The issue is all the parts that you're removing that you now have to replace that will come into question because of the amount of time the trade is taking to work out. Free agents, it's slim. It's nothing. Like, Wayne Ellington is arguably the best shooter available right now. Like, do you want to bring him back? Because if you're not bringing Wayne Ellington, who are you going to bring in? Avery Bradley? Like, it's just such an uphill battle. But I need to move on because we have people that I need to get to.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, thank you for bringing me up. And yeah, I think to like close the loop on this, it really just depends on like, how is this deal constructed? How many players are given up to think through like how competitive this team could be going forward.
All right. I agree. I happen to think that it's going to cost at least 2 of the players that heading into this season, the Knicks were probably looking to get 20 to 25 minutes per game from. I want to get Dany D in, and then Napoleon, and then we'll get Kate. Kate and Barnes from Barnes and Birds is up here. We'll get her take. If you're down below and you want to come on up, you got about another 15 minutes to do so before we go ahead and get ready to close out. To twin lenses, if you're still in the room, it's because Donovan Mitchell is from Elmsford. That's why he flew into New York. Like, he went home. Just throwing that out there. Dany, how you doing?
Yes, good morning. I'm doing quite well today. I was just, I'm silent for a while just because I want to get everybody else's take. Today, I'm not versed in the Knicks. We'll change that. I am versed in the Knicks. I remember the days of Jordan and the Knicks and watching those battles. um, the grandmama Knicks when Larry Johnson made that great shot. 'Cause I like Larry Johnson. Call me biased. But anyway, the whole Donovan Mitchell thing, I'm gonna be real. I ain't impressed with Donovan Mitchell. He's, as KP likes to use the word, he's mid to me. He's him and Dame Leonard. I put in the same bag, and they fall out. They might fall out together. I they all right. People gonna hate me for saying it. They all right. I think Donovan Mitchell has peaked. He's gonna give you what he's gonna give you, and if the Knicks want him, God bless him. Yeah, okay, that's might be an unpopular opinion. I ain't talking about stats, because stats can be deceiving. You can pad your stats, and everybody think it's great. That's just me. But I say stick with Jalen Brunson. If Donovan Mitchell is still there before you get to the end of the midseason trade, then you look at your roster, see where you're at in the standings, and then you go pick them up. Other than that, you leave him there in good old Utah, uh, uh, and let him be happy in Salt Lake, and dodge a bullet. Or if the beaches of Miami want him, him and Kyle Lowry can get together and talk about BBLs and live the good life. Um, Also, my aces are still up. I want to say it's a 37-point game right now. I'm sorry, Liberty. Seafoam Green. I can't get that out of my head because of you, Chris. Every time I see him, I think Seafoam Green.
Oh,
Never thought about it like that.
It's the worst. It's the worst color.
But it's the color of the Statue of Liberty, so I get it.
I've seen the Statue of Liberty, and I have seen Seafoam. That's all I'm gonna say.
They try to get as close as they could. But it's 101-64. We're in the fourth quarter. It's 5 minutes and 53 seconds left. I forgot it was camp day. That's why they had a game so early. The babies can't be out late. I enjoy seeing the babies out there. Some of them may not be able to go to professional games. There's all the opportunities to come to the professional game and enjoy themselves. So I love when they do that. Other than that, I enjoy hearing everybody's comments and enjoying just being a listener today. And I'm just going to leave it there.
All right. This is like really bad. I mean, can you imagine if you were somebody who was a Liberty fan, you're at your summer camp and you're gonna be able to see the game, and then like you're gonna get blown out by 40 at home? Man.
It's Asia Wilson. She out here balling, straight
She
balling.
played 20 minutes.
That's true, and I like when she plays 20 minutes. I like her to get some rest. We out here hitting threes, we're getting doubles, we're getting blocks, we're doing it all. Girl.
They're doing this with Jackie Young only scoring 4 points.
Well, that's true, but as long as Asia gets the buckets, and also too, I can't watch and talk on a game because my mouth gets foul. My husband laughs at me. I'll be cussing. You already know I told you about back that hole down, so it gets even worse.
All right, we're gonna go to Napoleon next. Napoleon, what's up, man? How you doing?
First and foremost, greetings and salutations to everyone. I'm gonna start it off like this. There was this, it was kids movie, kids song, something about having high hopes, in the apple pie, sky hopes. Like, that's what the Knicks have. Like, they have the attention span of a squirrel. Like, whether it's the front office or the coaching decisions, they don't never have two things that match. And I get what they're trying to do, but they haven't focused in on 1 minute. It's like, this is the core, then this is the core. And you got a coach who don't like to play young players. Like, it is like trying to make seafood gumbo with no seafood. You don't have the right ingredients. So I'm kind of confused because they don't have a specific direction. It's like you put an all-star team together with all, a whole bunch of players that on paper look good together, but they don't and I think Pickup said it, is but you have that locker room has to gel because again, you may take a bunch of no-name players and get a better result because they've all gelled. They've gone through in the last what five? Let's just say 5 to 7 years. How many coaches have they gone through? There hasn't been consistency where this coach will say, "Hey, this is the guy," or "These are the group of guys." Their development is one of the worst in the league because there hasn't been consistent development with their young players, and that's part of what's hurting them. The lack of consistency when it comes to player development and young player development. Again, I see what they're doing, and if they can pull it off and stay the course, yes, they will eventually build. But just because progression is, yes, moving forward, but when the rate at which you're progressing versus where the rest of the league is progressing, when that gap keeps getting further, your progression or the rate at which your progression almost makes you stagnant. So they're gonna have to pick a direction and stick to it for a couple seasons, and then you'll see that jump that they're looking for.
You
But
do
I understand what they're trying.
that's what they've been doing the last 2 years, right?
What I'm saying is this is they did it last year. They've kept Thibodeau, but even last year Thibodeau said a lot of the players that they traded for at the trade deadline he didn't want. So, and if you look, have they developed Obi Toppin? Have they Quickly's got some burn, but are they developing the young guys? Because if you're depending on Derrick Rose, as talented as he is, as much leadership as he has, are you developing the guys that are going to be there?
Well, yeah, they're there. They didn't get rid of them, so obviously they're still developing them. That's what I think. We are so used to a singular modality when it comes to the Knicks that, and I had said this as far back as last October or November. RJ Barrett is gonna get the max extension if he stays in New York now. There's this wild takeout that if Knicks get Donovan Mitchell, they could possibly get Kevin Durant, which would require RJ and Randall and picks, but I digress. But they picked RJ, and if you go back to even before Leon Rose was there, he was selected because of his intangibles, his professionalism at a young age, his work ethic, his personal ethos, if you will, right? And they said we were going to start doing things different, and everybody groaned and moaned and rolled their eyes because, of course, the Knicks. And then, what happened is they fired the coach, and then they bring in Tom Thibodeau, and again, everybody groaned, rolled their eyes, and said the Knicks. Yet, if you look at the moment that Thibodeau was hired, they pick up Leon Rose. They keep the same progression. They haven't moved any of their young guys. Mitchell Robinson becomes the first pick to get a second extension, contract extension after his rookie deal in 25 years. RJ Barrett's going to be second. If you take Derrick Rose out the lineup, if you take Evan Fournier out the lineup, I think the average age of the Knicks is 24.7 years old. They've already done everything you're asking them to do, but they're the New York Knicks. If they were the Grizzlies, we aren't having this discussion. We are saying they're doing exactly what you're supposed to do with a young team. If this was the Phoenix Suns, they'd be like, yo, adding Chris Paul is a stroke of brilliance to help develop Devin Booker. But if we're developing RJ, bringing in Brunson, who's going to be a lead guard, and bringing in another top flight guard, how does that not help him in developing? Sure, he might sacrifice shots, but that creates a level of possible efficiency boost. He learns to play better within himself and within the construct of what the offense is required for the Knicks to be successful.
Chris, I'm not disagreeing with that, but what I'm saying is, if I'm progressing at a certain rate,
well, see, that's the problem.
And the league is progressing
can't
at
say a certain rate because progression isn't linear.
I forgot I have to be literal with you, Chris.
Like progression is not linear, and also I want to get Kate in here and then get ready for the final takes.
Real quick, I'm gonna land. If everybody's progressing faster than what I'm progressing at, and I'm progressing at half that speed, at some point it's almost like you become stagnant. That's all I'm saying.
It's not stagnant. You're just not. You're still progressing. You're not progressing, amongst peers. And I make a really good vegan gumbo. Just to let you know, they are out there. So be careful. Like vegan gumbo is delicious. One of the only ways that I eat mushrooms. Not a big fan of mushrooms. Not a anti-mushroom guy. It's just like I'm not a mushroom guy. Like I'm not going there and picking out those slimy ass stuffed mushrooms at the restaurant that they
Just like cherry fruit snacks, Chris.
Yo, cherry fruit snacks are the greatest candy that are like a gummy, right? Like I'm not saying it's candy ever. Like blasphemy. How's that blasphemy?
The audacity for you to consider that a candy. I need you to stop. Please don't.
You go ahead and have fun with those pink Starbursts that don't even taste like strawberry, and you leave the actual good stuff for us, and we'll say thank you. Kate.
I love Starburst. Okay, I can't help it. Ooh, she blocked a shot. Anyway.
Look at that. Yeah, go back to the game so you can go ahead and keep piling on these Liberty fans, aka Malika. Kate, what's up? How you doing?
Not much, Chris. I normally just listen to you guys while I'm here at work doing my stuff, but I was prompted to come here by the Knicks fan who, as Napoleon so aptly put it, do have high hopes. And the next verse of that song is actually goes a little something like this. A problem's just a toy balloon. It'll be bursting soon. It's just bound to go pop. And I think if you just replace problem in that sentence with Knicks preseason hopes, you've actually got a pretty good sense of what's going on here. Because we've got a Knicks fan who's coming in here saying that they're going to be better than the Raptors, going to be better than the Hawks. They're not afraid of the Pigeons, blah, blah, blah. All I'm asking the Knicks fans to do is look at the roster that they have that they're going to be putting out. Look at your top 7 and compare those to the Knicks. Compare the Knicks to the Raptors. Compare them to the Hawks. Compare them to the rest of the teams that you're going to be competing against to be the best of the rest, so to speak, after the contenders or the quote unquote contenders are out of the way. Past the Celtics, past the Bucks, past the Sixers, who should probably be a little bit better next year. If you just look at your top 6 or 7 players, how many are you going to have? Even with Donovan Mitchell, how many players do you have that are actually better than the top 5 or 6 players at their given positions? And I would say that there is very few instances where the Knicks are going to be coming out on top there. And then you can say, okay, well, Kate, maybe it's just going to be the collective is going to be better. You know what? The Knicks have not shown me that they're able to operate as a collective, as kind of better as a sum of their parts than the sum of their equal individuals than any of these other teams. So, I'm glad that Knicks fans are feeling good going into this season, but I think that this would just be another instance to me of high hopes and probably expectations that are higher than they should be, considering, what the addition of a Jalen Brunson brings and what the addition of a Donovan Mitchell brings. Yeah, that's a great backcourt, but guess what? That's a really small backcourt that's not really great at defense. And we've seen what small backcourts that are not great at defense are able to do and what their ceiling is. And, that's not going to beat a team like the Raptors, who have a backcourt who is small, but excellent at defense. It's not even going to beat the Hawks, who have a backcourt now collectively where one guy is great at defense and the other guy is not great at defense. I just don't see, what the hope is there and why the expectation is going to be to all of a sudden go from being a play-in team to being best of the rest. That's all I got to say. It's a little bit disrespectful, if you ask me.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Hey, Kate, I shot you a follow because you caught the alley-oop.
I remember that song, Napoleon. I could sing it too, but I'm not a great singer.
All right, everybody. We got 12:59. We're getting out of here. I've got a song for everybody.
10,000 subscribers, then you will get
This kid is killing it, by the way. He's got 1,000 subscribers. He's got
a
over
lot of stuff.
100,000 views.
iPhones. Yeah. And whoever
All right,
gives
get to singing.
Had to have hope for a limit. Didn't go to skies when we were to kill it.
This is a Knicks fan, by the way.
Vision.
He's got high hopes.
I do have hope for a limit. Didn't know how,
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
This is a different High Hopes, Chris. This is not the
I-
child's song that we were thinking.
I thought he was speaking Japanese.
No,
I thought he was singing it in French.
Is that your son, Chris? The little hoop space?
That is definitely not. Definitely not.
Definitely
No,
thought it was an anime theme song, bro. I'm not gonna lie to
No,
you.
I typed in Knicks kid singing, and that was one of the ones that popped up. He has high hopes, and that was I don't know what band made that song. I just know it was a band. But anyway,
Panic at the Disco.
Oh, there you go. Thank you, 808s. Welcome back, by the way. Point to you. Hey, that's it, everybody. It's a wrap. There will be no show tomorrow. We'll go ahead and say boo.
Wait, there's no show tomorrow.
No show tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. I actually have some. Well, you can gloat about how the Liberty were destroyed. I actually have some personal work that I have to actually get done. Got to go to court to pay some bills and do some stuff. Tomorrow in the evening time, there will be a locker room episode held by NBA Film Spaces. But before we get going, I wanted Dime Dropper to be able to get some time in here. I don't know if he can announce it yet, so I haven't said anything. But man, there's big things in store for our friend here, Dime Dropper, host of Dime's Bank, when he has the time here on Spaces. And you can also find him on YouTube as well. Dime, what do you got, man?
What's up, Chris? A couple things, actually. One, I've continued the historic timeline that you always shout out on the space, breaking down the film inspired by Kobe's show Details. So kind of breaking down like the X's and O's of how the game was and the players of the past. Everybody always argues about GOATs on Twitter. What I'm trying to do is show you guys clips and highlights or game film of the GOAT so you can make your own determination with proper context. So right now I'm in 1971. If you're a Knicks fan, go check out my video on YouTube. The link is in my bio. When the Knicks were feared, defending champions, and Kareem when he was young, awesome stuff. And I worked really hard on it. And then besides that, I actually had a sit down. Clipper fans got to go sit down, a good amount of us, with Jerry West yesterday and listen to him talk. So about 15 minutes of that I'm going to post on my YouTube channel as well. And he actually went more in depth about the upcoming season than I figured he would, and talked about like the John Wall move and all that. And anytime you get to listen to Jerry West talk, you listen. But when you get to listen to him in person, you listen even more. So great man. And just for anybody that wants to know, this man was taking pictures and signing everything with everybody until they took him away. So just shout out to Mr. West, man. What a guy. And I'm going to post that video. But check me out on YouTube if you love the game of basketball. That's it. But thanks, Chris.
No, absolutely. Make sure you check him out. The one thing he does a great job is he contextualizes for his generation the stuff that I grew up reading about, because there wasn't a lot of film. And it's a phenomenal listen if you actually just pop it on like a podcast. So make sure you head over to YouTube and Google Dime Dropper so you can go ahead and give a subscription. 808s, what do you got, man? Like 60 seconds. It's not the way you want to go out. Ladies and gentlemen, the best thing about the New York Liberty today is a twerking elephant mascot. That's all I got. See you tomorrow. Oh, actually, no, you won't. See you Monday, 10 a.m. Monday. There you go. It's been an interesting week, y'all. Not gonna lie. Found out that I was in Bleacher Report. Possible sponsorships looking like they might line up. But really, I just want to take a quick moment to say thank you for those who do come every day. All right. Thank you for those who do come in and listen. You have to put up with me asking you to like and retweet a show card. It must be so hard for you to, go up there, peruse over the Jumbotron, find a show card where you can tap a like and a retweet. I mean, it's so hard for me to sit here for 3 hours and provide this wonderful content, but man, it doesn't top having to hit a like and a retweet. That shit must be hard. See you Monday, 10 a.m. Peace out.